Stop Killing Games is a consumer movement started to challenge the legality of publishers destroying video games they have sold to customers.
That's probably one of the best taglines I've ever seen.
Our biggest critic by far is Pirate Software.
This is the most uneducated take I have ever seen in games.
Me when I'm talking about myself.
If you try to tell me every studio needs to run their live service game indefinitely or not want to run one at all, then no one's going to run them.
Who the f said that? He's completely reframing this entire initiative.
Imagine the day that World of Warcraft shuts down and suddenly you have to make it a single-player game for every individual that ever bought the game.
Imagine this guy wasn't a dumb lying I think Thor does realize what he's asking for. I think he's doing reasonable trolling. It's fake reasonable, and he's really just doesn't support this initiative. He has a vested interest in protecting game creators more than the actual gaming community. Is this part of his game? What are you doing with the wand, pirate? Are you placing a spell of consent onto the dog? All right, let's get this started. Enough dilly-dallying. Somebody sent me like a Moist Critical video the other day, and I skimmed through, and it was about this situation of Stop Killing Games. I didn't really understand what it was, so I started looking into it a little bit on the stream and stuff, and I was like, oh, it looks interesting. It's just basically, from what I understand, I'm sure we're gonna get more educated as we watch this video. It's about basically like once a live service game goes down, making it so people can still play the game. Because nowadays, for a lot of games, I don't even think you own games anymore. You like own the licenses to play the games. And part of that's because they're all online, even if they don't necessarily need an online component. Like I can understand something like, you know, an MMORPG that's strictly a very heavy online environment, and once that shuts down, it's gone. I get it. Never had like a huge problem with that. But you can't do that with like fucking everything. So they should the idea is to have access to be able to play the game once it goes down, whether it's on a private server or whatever, or you can like locally host, which I think is a good idea. I mean, if you're gonna pay $60, $70, $80 for a fucking game, you should be able to play the game even when support for the game is gone. I don't think this is a hot take, but apparently Pirate Software, who is now very well known in our community for liking furry cock or something, very interesting. That was a hell of a video. I'll try to link down in the description. Liking gay furry cock? Maybe even gay futa. I don't know. Although that's not gay. But we don't have to have that conversation, okay? He had like a disagreeable opinion. He somehow disagrees with this movement. That's from my understanding. So we're going to watch this. It's from Accursed Farms. He was like, he's the big pusher of, you know, to this whole Stop Killing Games movement, which is apparently ending. And I guess Pirate Software has something to do with it. Let's just watch.
Hello, this is probably the final update to the Stop Killing Games campaign.
All right.
Though I'm coming at you a little bit like a time traveler would. It'll make sense in a minute.
Okay.
As a refresher, Stop Killing Games is a consumer movement to stop publishers from effectively destroying video games they have already sold to customers. Yeah. Now, we've gone about this in many ways.
It's funny because I play a game called Warcraft Rumble on my phone, and even they said, even they were saying like, oh, you don't actually own anything you buy. You own you have like the license to play. It's like, that's just so fucking strange to me. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I guess you can't play that game without a community of people, but still.
But it's easiest to divide this up by things we've already done and things we can still do. Because there's about a dozen things we've already done. Yeah, in fact, here's a list if you want to pause this. Going over this again will be a video in itself.
Things to Stop Killing Games campaign is done. Submit complaints to the European consumer centers now working for multiple countries. Results dead end. No consistency from the offices. Okay, submit a petition to Canadian Parliament. Dead end. Make contact with the BEUC to influence it. Ongoing. Okay, interesting. It seems like they've done a lot. Okay, good for them.
I'll talk more about some of this towards the end.
Sure.
So that just leaves things we can still do, which are only 2 items. One is for the UK to sign a government petition to bring this issue before Parliament. Though, keeping it real, I'm not terribly optimistic about this one.
It's interesting because they're probably not going to care because they find it immature. But I mean, listen, you're a grown-ass adult. You play video games. There's nothing, honestly, there's no difference between like sitting here and advocating for the same practices or fair practices for like a baseball game than like video games. It's like the same fucking thing at this point. You know what I mean? I mean, they're not the same physically, but it's a form of entertainment that you engage in when you're not at work. You know, you're a grown-ass person and you decide to use your money how you want to use it. You should be protected as a consumer in some capacity. So they're not going to care because they're going to say, oh, it's silly video games, and everybody in the government is like 60.
Since the government response has been a mess by every definition. It's a long and boring story, but the short version is it's hit a bureaucratic roadblock and will stay stuck unless it gets more signatures. But the one that has a lot of power, so much so I think it could change the course of gaming history, is the European Citizens Initiative. Now, I said I'm approaching this like a time traveler because with the trajectory we're on, these are both going to fail. So I figure, why wait until they actually do to tell people? Both the petitions end in July. The Citizens Initiative in particular on July 31st.
Are non-Europeans able to sign these? Or?
This video probably won't change the timeline. It's just a last-ditch attempt to wake people up on it. The European Citizens Initiative failing kind of stings. Again, this one is crazy powerful, but the hurdle we just couldn't get past was that it requires 1 million signatures from citizens of EU countries.
Okay.
And we've only made it just under halfway. That's really too bad, because I have high confidence this would have solved the problem of publishers destroying video games. Now, why do I say that? What a lot of people don't realize is that in the EU especially, it's almost a state of lawlessness regarding the practice of game destruction. Okay, I don't want to put people to sleep here.
Well, I hope he defines what he means by game destruction.
But the quick legal argument is that the vast majority of games with an online requirement say they can be terminated at any time for any reason.
Listen, I think that that's okay as long as there's a backup. Like, if you decide that you're going to terminate support for a game that I paid $60, it doesn't matter if I paid $5 for it. You should have a backup to allow people to still play it. Like, yep, we can terminate it at any time, but we will, open the whatever code. I don't really understand too much gaming jargon because I don't even like games. No, but I should be able to host it myself, like locally on my computer, at least for my friends to play or something like that. There should be something implemented that allows people to continuously play still in some capacity.
Or Blizzard likes to say any or no reason. But according to the EU Commission, that might be a violation of Directive 93/13 EEC, which protects consumers against unfair terms in consumer contracts. So if
that seems like an unfair consumer contract, yeah, I mean, I agree with that. So, sure.
If that term is unfair, that means that part of the contract is null and void. And if it's null and void, then what does the law say about how long your purchase lasts? Well, it doesn't. That's the whole mess. So if there are no legal guidelines, what are consumer expectations for how long video games last? Well, indefinitely.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where you're almost going to have to rework your expectations. That's what their argument is. And I think right now it's not a huge problem yet that we're seeing because we're not seeing a ton of games shutting down. We've seen MMOs shut down, but I just feel like nowadays I feel like everything has to be online. But I don't think it's a bad practice to open up like different source codes or something so that people can fucking play a game they spent a considerable amount of money on. I mean, even when Classic WoW went down and Blizzard was like they shut down that private server, that was kind of shitty because it's like you don't support this version of the game anymore. They eventually did support the version of the game, so that's good. But if you don't support the version of the game anymore, like, people should be able to do what the fuck they want.
Even the average online multiplayer video games from the 90s can still work today if you didn't change the hardware or software. So the law wasn't written for this situation.
Yep, and they take a long time to catch up on, the government takes a long time to catch up.
Industry's terms might possibly be illegal, and traditional expectations are games last indefinitely. Now, of course, publishers can't support games indefinitely, but by not giving expiration dates or end-of-life plans,
that's fair. Like if they were gonna be like, hey, we're gonna support this, and we're gonna support this for sure, for 10 years or something, then at least people have like a reasonable expectation of what it means, what that plan means.
Might be the situation they've put themselves in. I cannot emphasize enough what a mess this is. If you were an impartial judge just trying to interpret the law, you'd have a headache. I don't know what you would do. You'd probably tell the EU Commission they need to make a law on this because this is a glaring omission. So being in the middle of this quagmire right now, if we had rolled up with 1 million signatures demanding that the EU give us basic consumer rights...
Losing MMOs hurt the most. Yeah, I mean, I kind of agree. I mean, MMOs are, especially the traditional MMOs where you've developed friends and now it's just kind of gone. Yeah.
Video games? That would have been the easy way out for regulators, because then they would have a mandate. That's what I meant about my half-joke slide about politicians liking easy wins. This situation is such a mess that trying to settle this under existing law is more work than creating laws under a consumer mandate. And thanks to the action we pushed at consumer protection agencies, doing nothing is no longer an option for multiple countries. We've made sure of that. But none of that matters because the initiative is failing.
So interesting. Someone said the same thing happened in Destiny 1. It just isolated the version of the game and kept it alive with Skeleton Crew and its own server set aside. People can still go play it, just no live event stuff. That makes sense. That makes perfect sense. That makes absolutely perfect sense.
Now, my original thought was...
I mean, I guess it gets a little murky when it comes to the MMO conversation. Kind of. Well, because I mentioned before, I was like, oh, people wanted to play Classic WoW, and it's like, you know, they don't support it anymore, but they still do support the game in its more modern version. And it's like, okay, well, at what point does it become a different game? Because then they might argue it could take away from the base that plays this game, but a Classic WoW is so much different than modern WoW. But yeah, either way.
That ironically, it's difficult to get gamers to care about games because a whole lot of people are cruising.
You don't buy an MMO, you pay a service fee, so there's no expectation on the product. I don't even know what you're talking about. You all like in almost every scenario, I've bought an MMO and then paid a service fee. Like, what are you talking about? It's like every MMO I've ever bought, I paid like $50 for it, or $60 or $80 or whatever, and then I paid like $15 a month to play it. So I don't think that what you're saying is true at all. I don't know if you've ever played MMOs before in your life, but you fucking buy the game and then you pay for it every month.
A maximum apathy these days. But I think it's more than that. For most of the past year, the initiative has bounced back and forth between being the third and second most popular active initiative in the EU.
That's crazy. People in Europe are fucking losers. Caring that much about games. Silly. But no, I mean, sure, great.
The only ones that topped it were far more serious social issues.
Which makes sense, because there is quite a lot of shit going on right now. I could see some people responding with like, hey, this doesn't seem like the most important thing right now. But at the same time, I mean, like, listen, if you're paying money for stuff, you're paying money. You're putting money into the economy. You're creating jobs. You're creating the circulation of your wealth and other wealth. I think that it's fair for you to be like, hey, I kind of would like my financial decisions to be protected.
So that says to me, the problem isn't getting gamers to care about games. It's getting people to care about anything. And frankly, that is a checkmate move. If people can't care enough to write their name on a form to protect their rights and stop things they care about from being destroyed, then yeah, I can't do much with that. I am not a Care Bear that can shoot light out of my stomach to make people give
I could actually do that.
a damn. Plus, it's hard to know how many people don't care and how many never knew about the initiative in the first place. It's certainly not for a lack of trying. I have tried to push this everywhere I can, though I'm an amateur at all of this. I have a medium-sized YouTube channel for making comedy videos involving gaming.
Yeah. He's got 366. His medium. What the hell am I, dude? What the hell am I?
That's it for my advantages. Now, I've tried to leverage this to push the initiative, get as much help as possible, but I've never been great at marketing and networking.
There's speculation on the Final Fantasy X MMO. That'd be interesting. I used to play that so much when I was a kid. No, not 10. What do you mean, like 11? I used to play that shit all the time.
You know, stuff you need on a campaign. Yeah, in fact, I never wanted to do any of this. I've been beating the drum on the problem of game destruction going on 10 years now,
Damn.
But the problem only got...
This guy really loves video games, right? I mean, good for him. That's
worse and worse, and nobody
everyone needs a hobby.
Was doing a damn thing about it. So when the opportunity to do something finally presented itself in the form of the biggest game shutdown from a European company, I pounced on it as hard as I could. So I've hated doing almost every aspect of this campaign and will be very happy for it to end. But I would have hated myself even more if nobody stepped up to do anything.
Jesus, he really takes this seriously. I mean, God bless him, bro.
So in light of that, I think our exposure has been phenomenal. We've gotten a lot of support or just fair coverage from major YouTubers. Some ordinary gamers, Yang Ye, Lewis...
I don't know who the Yang Ye is. I know who Louis Rossman is.
Rossman has been a bro especially. Gamers Nexus, Linus Tech Tips, Game Linked, Philip DeFranco, Asmongold, Black Panther, Second Wind,
Panther? Wow.
Including Yahtzee and the other Frost, Spawn Wave, Civi 11, Mandalore Games, Bellular News, Digital Foundry.
Bellular News, I haven't heard that in a while. One of his videos came up on my For You page the other day where he's talking about how they might redo like classic WoW, but with a little bit more of a modern spin. So it plays like classic, but has some modern conventions in there. It's like, that might be interesting. Maybe that'll pull me back in.
Josh Strife Hayes, Tech Tangents. Honestly, it goes on and on. I'm leaving out.
I can't believe you highlighted it to some, and then some of the. I feel like Moist Critical has been helpful too. No, or maybe he made his video after this one and he got upset. And he's like, "Why wasn't it on the list? I got to do more."
A lot of people. My apologies on that. We've gotten game news outlet coverage. PC Gamer, IGN, Rock Paper Shotgun, Kotaku, TechSpot, Eurogamer, PC Games N, Destructoid, Game Rant. There's more. And regular news outlets, Metro, Euronews, Variety, Forbes.
I think at this point he's just fucking flexing on us hard, boy.
Also many non-English outlets for France, Germany, Italy, Poland, Hungary. There's a lot. And some developers. Running with Scissors, Landfall Games,
Jesus Christ.
Mala Industria Games, Octane, those awesome guys. And developers of emulators like Dolphin, PCSX.
Bro, can I say something right now? That really pisses me off. Okay, I don't know if this is like illegal or not, but I really want to find a little handheld fake Game Boy Advance. Like, I don't want to pay $100 for an old one. I want somebody to make one that plays Game Boy Advance games or Game Boy Color games or whatever, so that I can go and I could buy actual games or repo cards. I would never do that. And play them. But they got like one that's like $300. Like, why is there not cheap ones? Is that against the law or something? Like, what the fuck? Who gives a fuck about that? Why the fuck can't I do it?
X2 and PPSSPP. And some more indie developers I may have lost track of. I'm sorry. And this last one is hearsay, but it's my favorite if true. Developers from UB...
That stuff doesn't exist in droves. I haven't found a single fucking thing of it, dude. I don't want one that, like... I don't want a handheld that is an emulator machine. I want one that I can put a fucking Game Boy game into and play it.
Soft Ivory Tower. The people who made The Crew...
I want it to be cheap. I don't want to pay... I want to pay $50. I want to pay $50 at most for a piece of... a fake Game Boy Advance... a color. That's what I want. Okay? I want a fake Game Boy Color that's less than $50... Okay, that's what I'm talking about. I'm not looking for like a fucking stream. I could take out my phone right now and download emulators on it. I'm not looking for that. Okay. Penises.
Which is the game we used to get all this action rolling in the first place. Yeah, it turns out a lot of developers who spend years of their lives working on something don't like seeing it destroyed by publishers. Who'd have thought?
Oh no, you don't have to send me one, barbecue, but I do have to open my P.O. box. I gotta yell at my wife. I gotta blame her for my problems.
What? And I've been saying yes to almost all offers for interviews, questioning, or any kind of outreach opportunities that came our way. I honestly don't know how many interviews I've done on this issue at this point. It's easily dozens, though not all of them were on video. One was even for BBC Radio. And then there would be the spontaneous offers that would pop up throughout the entire campaign. Like working with members of European Parliament to push through questions to the EU Commission. Having meetings with the BEUC as another route to the EU Commission. Meetings with representatives from GOG. That one was looking promising until they fired the representatives we were talking with, then backpedaled. That sucked. Meetings with representatives from Heineken.
That was an analog pop.
Yeah, I didn't see that one coming. Heineken, of all companies, supports the initiative because it ties in well with some gamer lounge campaign they have going. That one.
How much does this? What the fuck is it? An analog pocket? What the fuck? This thing is $200. I'm trying to get it for people in my family too, but that's actually pretty cool. I'm gonna fucking save this actually. This one. Analog pocket. That's pretty badass. What does it play?
It was gonna be a huge boost for us, but they ended up having to postpone it a year, which is too late. I've had meetings with Fudo, F-Game.
Fuda.
Probably the funniest of these was another member of European Parliament who is also on the Committee on Culture and Education. Their staff reached out to me.
Guys, sponsored by this now? I'm just kidding. Send me one though. I will sponsor
it. Set appointments, canceled, then kept having to reschedule 3 times. And this is all on top of the day-to-day outreach, organizing, and just basic communication with God knows how many people. Again, I've hated doing this because I have to fight all my instincts not to bother people. I hate being a pest, but you kind of have to do some.
I like being a pest. I like pestering my own wife.
Some of that when campaigning. At this point, I've written
well, you could say pest, or you could say I'm advocating for myself, right? That's what I like to say.
A couple thousand emails connected to the campaign, trying to do outreach, research, and just keeping things together. I haven't done that much on Twitter because I don't have much of a presence there. Same goes for Reddit. Yeah, Reddit. I received so many reports of promotions of the initiative being deleted. And some of the ones...
Really? On Reddit? That's fucking crazy. Why would they delete it? I feel like that everybody would love that on there. It's fucking Reddit. Like, aren't they just huge nerds?
Ones that stayed up are some of the most hostile to the initiative that I've seen. Yeah,
Really?
Isn't Reddit just a wonderful place to be nowadays? We did get a Discord launched where people could independently organize, so I wouldn't be bottlenecking anything if others had better ideas on what to do.
Tell me my horse died again? What the fuck?
I believe currently they're trying to contact TV stations about this in Europe, something I never would have had a clue how to do. That's exactly the sort of thing I was hoping would emerge. Yeah, I really want to emphasize that from the second the initiative launched, nothing had to go through me. It's been there, in public, this entire time, with easy multilingual guides at StopKillingGames.com. We blazed a trail to make it easy for others to act on this, but that wasn't enough. So it feels like I've been running a rickshaw carrying people to the destination to save games, except it's breaking down halfway. The work on this has never stopped. I never wanted my involvement on the campaign to last this long. I kept hoping after launch, somebody with more reach and better at campaigning could just point people to the destination and get it done.
It sounds like this guy unintentionally like made this his whole thing. He's like the pioneer. He's like the pioneer of this like massively, you know, I would say pretty important movement, especially like to gamers. And he's like, I never wanted this. Well, I guess now he's kind of the Batman of this.
But no, I've had to keep hauling that rickshaw. Not every week, but there have been many weeks on the campaign where I've been working 12 to 14 hours a day to keep things moving to get signatures. And the only way I was even able to do that was to burn some of my savings and put everything else on hold. Damn. I've been kind of stupid about this because it's our only shot. Again, this is an amateur effort. That means there's no staff and no...
I'm honestly surprised I haven't heard of this guy sooner. It really does genuinely seem like he's trying to push for a very important movement that I haven't heard a single word about this initiative. Like I'm actually really shocked because it seems like a really smart initiative. And how long has it been going on for? Probably months. This is the first time I've ever heard anything about it. You think this would be more important? You think that people would be like, holy fuck, and like talking about this on TikTok and shit? I don't understand. I really don't get it though. It makes very little sense to me. What the hell? It makes very little sense to me that nobody's been talking about this at all in any meaningful capacity. But like the idea that you're actually going to fucking own your game, that you when you buy it, like what an initiative! The actually own your game initiative.
No salary. So if I need help with something and ask a volunteer to help with it...
It's been up for years? I'm shocked that I've never seen anything about this.
And they disappear on me.
This seems like it should be like... I feel like gamers should be making enough noise about this to like go across different communities. Because I play games now, but I'm not like a gamer, you know? So like, I'm surprised.
Well, then they disappear on me and I need to do it myself. Or if I can't, then I need to hunt down someone else to help with it and hope they don't disappear on me. Meanwhile, my channel has been suffering, as my viewers can tell you. I'm stretched too thin. Now, I have been maybe fairly criticized for not running a fundraiser for this. There are reasons for that. The first is, until recently...
Yeah, why not? Ask people to give their fucking money.
I didn't know where we would spend it. People would say, buy ads. But the initiative could be considered political. And YouTube doesn't allow political ads in a lot of EU countries. And neither does Twitch.
Interesting. That makes sense.
Twitch. Good luck reaching gamers without YouTube or Twitch. So taking money with no plan, that's a grift. And another reason is I am one of the...
Oh man, I feel like this guy could, I mean, he probably doesn't want to, but he could have definitely made like a content strategy around like really like just, I mean, if he's talking to big prominent players, he should just like live stream on his fucking YouTube and try to get people to like because I see he does re-uploads of some of his YouTube videos. That's cool, but I'd say live stream on your fucking YouTube, man. And put out some clips on TikTok and Twitter when you have conversations with different people and just make it the same shit. Beat people to death with this issue. It's not a bad idea.
The worst people to manage that sort of thing. Financial paperwork isn't...
No, dude, I'm not a gamer. I'm a slop consumer and enjoyer, okay? I like commentary.
Achilles heel of mine, and seems to take me 10 times more effort.
You don't consider him political? I wouldn't either, but like, since he has to advocate to politics... Wow, that was an intelligent sentence there, huh? Since he has to like politically advocate for this, it makes sense to me that he might think it's political and then an ad campaign, especially since he needs people in the EU to or the UK, whatever. I don't fucking care about all these letters. To be signal boosted. Apparently, you can't put political ads that would go over there, so it doesn't help him out.
Effort than anything else. I mean, I can do accounting, budgeting, math. That's not a problem. No, I mean having knowledge of all the obscure forms you need to fill out, what all the tax laws that apply are, what all the specialized terminology is, and just all the hidden rules. Now you might say just hire an international tax accountant for multiple countries. Okay, there goes a third of our funding then. So what are we even doing? I cannot emphasize how much I struggle with financial business crap like that. So the thought of me putting together a fundraiser for what might be considered a political fund that needs to adhere to laws in multiple countries, and if I make a mistake, that could be considered a crime?
It didn't sound like he tried. That's a good point. Yeah, he should. Yeah, why not fundraise and then like ask people like, hey, I don't know if it's gonna work, but let's give it a shot. That's actually a good point. He should have YOLO'd the fuck out of it.
Oh no. That's like asking somebody with severe dyslexia to write a book report on war and peace. I am the wrong person for that job. But I've still been trying, to the best of my ability anyway. I didn't discover this until late in the process, that even though general ads were out, sponsored messages were still an option for some countries. And some mysterious benefactors emerged offering to pay them directly. But that means I needed to find all these channels and broker all these deals. So as a last-ditch effort, I've been looking through hundreds of targeted non-English gaming channels trying to find good candidates for this. Then work with bilingual liaisons for each language, then try to put together a contract and figure out what a good offer is for the amount of views we expect.
What the fuck?
I am so out of my depth on this, but I'm still trying. At this point, I've browsed through more clickbait AI-generated thumbnails than I have the entire rest of my life. I honestly can't decide which part of the campaign I've hated the most. Acting as an advertising broker, not knowing our budget or what's a good offer.
I feel like this guy put together like a loose plan. He could have probably gotten a decent amount of support from people to like help him out. You know, there's a lot of other big YouTubers out there that seem to be interested in this, so.
Or trying to research laws governing this practice that don't exist, except I didn't know that at the time. So how are these sponsored ads going? Are they going to get us the signatures? As of recording this, I don't know. It's a Hail Mary pass as it is. I'm just going to assume it won't, and I'm completely spent on ideas on how to get more signatures. I did everything I possibly could to make this campaign work. It wasn't enough. Or rather, I did everything that made sense to me. I did receive a lot of suggestions of things I do not think would have worked. A bunch of people told me to make short-form videos on this.
Yeah, I think that would have been a great idea.
I tried that. They got a fraction of my usual views.
Okay. I don't know how he did this, but you need to do that. So, like, just from, I guess, a marketing perspective, not that I'm big into marketing, you know, you have an audience. The audience you already have, you're not just looking for views. Just to be clear, you're not looking for views. Necessarily, or you're not just looking for views. Right now, you have the views, it seems like, on your YouTube channel when you talk about this topic. What you're looking for specifically are productive views, new views, people who've never engaged with your shit before that are going to come in and they're going to be like, Jesus Christ, the people that you're going to come in that are different, that don't know your content already. That's what you're looking for more than anything else, right? So, Jesus fuck. When you do shorts, that's a different market. That's the poo-poo potty market, right? Your long-form content is the people who are going to play it when they're like sitting down and they're maybe playing a game or they're doing homework or they're jacking off or whatever, and they like the sound of your voice. But there's also the market of people who are taking a shit. This guy looks like a fucking dork. Sitting on the toilet, they come across your like 1 minute long video, they might be like involved, they might be like inclined to be like, oh, like let me watch this. This looks like an interesting thing. That's what you're looking for. So even if they don't get a lot of views, you could just make a reasonable assumption that they're new viewers that don't really engage with your content. And that's what you're looking for.
I've been told make more videos on my channel saying the same thing. But lots of views on my channel doesn't help if it's all the same audience.
Right, exactly. He like contradicted himself in like 2 seconds.
Because people can only sign once. We have to reach new audiences.
Yeah, go talk to Ethan Klein.
I've been told become a full-time streamer. I might consider it if I thought it would work, but
you don't need to become a full-time streamer. Like this guy, like you don't have to become full-time. First of all, it sounds like this guy is evolving as a content creator, which I think is fantastic. Everybody should evolve as a content creator. Like when I first started, I started making like dumbass bullshit. Like just fucking silly jokes, and now we do long form commentary and we have fun. So like maybe it would be a good idea to stream on YouTube so it's permanent. It's a big deal. And then your videos, make your shorts, make your videos like stream segments, like shorter stream segments. Hey, I played this game. Hey, like we talked to this person about this topic. Again, like we're really talking about it. Have a short clip from that. You know what I mean? And just try to get yourself out there. Just honestly, I don't think it would be a bad idea because like you kind of want to almost harass people. You know? I don't think it would be a bad idea to just kind of like just keep getting that content out there. Just really try to like get it out there and beat a dead horse almost in some capacity. Get a fucking short a day where you talk about this. Get to see multiple clips from the same video, same conversation that you have with such and such. You know, do low effort things that will constantly get your message out there and make you known as like, the guy who's trying to basically, save video games. Maybe not now, but in the future, games are going to die and they're just going to be gone forever. And like there's going to be like an impossibility to engage in nostalgia. Like I can go back and play like fucking Pokemon, whatever the fuck. That's nostalgic to me. You're not going to be able to go back and play like I don't even know. I think even like Assassin's Creed has to have online play. So I don't know if that's like part of this too, but it's going to be harder for you to go back and engage in that nostalgia. So
I don't. I've been told I should have made a bigger deal about countries crossing minimum thresholds.
The hell?
Well, I didn't want to celebrate that because that's an arbitrary number. They're the minimums. All that really matters is that 1 million number. And we're...
Well, this guy, the problem with this guy is he's just too nice of a genuine guy. You gotta celebrate everything, man. You gotta be annoying. You call it annoying. I call it advocating for yourself. You gotta fucking advocate for yourself. You gotta be annoying. You gotta talk about shit. You gotta, take some kind of solace in every minor victory. Keep pushing. Get people involved. Get people parasocial on this issue. Why not?
We're a long ways
Make them care. Make them not care.
Way. Now, another suggestion has been to make a plea to big gamers. Like PewDiePie, Jacksepticeye, Moist Critical, Markiplier, anyone like that.
Beaker, Caleb Hammer. August. I think it would be fantastic if you could just toss a little edit of Caleb Hammer if you could find it, him talking like Beaker. That would be fucking phenomenal. That would be so funny. Shit, that might even be a good intro part of the intro. Anyway. It seems like it worked. Moist Critical's there. Talk to Moist Critical on your YouTube stream. Please. Talk to Moist Critical. Put it on your YouTube stream. Get that going. Clip it up. Put it out on everywhere. TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook. I'm not kidding. Facebook, Twitter. Fucking everything. Advocate heavily for this issue. Because I feel like one of the reasons why this guy probably hates this, and I understand why, is because it's a lot of work and he probably is not making a lot of money. And it's because he hasn't made this about money enough. Like, it's okay to get paid to do good things, right? We're not having this big, deep political conversation here, but you're trying to make it so that there's a fair gaming practice. Make money doing this. Make money doing this. You should try to make money because then you're going to start to like it. If you come on and you're like, if your work offline is trying to put together whatever you have to get to, I don't know the infrastructure. And then you come on the stream and you play some games with your fans, and then you have conversations on their stream about this initiative that you're pushing with big streamers, small streamers, fat streamers, tall streamers, everything. And you just keep beaming this initiative. You can make money doing it. And you're going to start to have, I would imagine, more of a... He obviously has the passion for it, because he's like, I have to do this. So make some money so that your passion is fun. That's my advice.
Well, yeah, I think that might be a great idea. Our biggest obstacle in the campaign has always been getting enough exposure, and they have exposure. I think any one of them could end this with one video and change gaming history.
Probably not. I think that you're overestimating their ability, but they could be significantly helpful. I feel like it's going to be tough to to sell this to like actual government because they're old, dumb pieces of shit. So but still, it would be phenomenal. And I think that this guy should make money doing this. I think he deserves to make money doing this. I think he has to advocate for himself so he can make money doing this.
Problem is, I have no idea how to reach any of them. Plus, I can understand if they might shy away from this. First, they're probably busy people. But second, they may not want the kind of heat that comes with changing gaming history.
I think he actually believes what he's saying, which is like the funniest part to me. I think that they would be okay with it.
Even if it's for the better. And third, if they back this, then 1 million people might mob them to back something else, and then there's no end to it.
Monkeys?
So I actually can understand some people wanting to sit this out.
I don't think it's that controversial. I think this guy really doesn't want to be, he really doesn't want to be an inconvenience.
I mean, yeah, it really sucks that we can't get enough attention on this badly needed change in the games industry.
Where'd the monkeys go?
But I'm not shocked either. Honestly, I'm already punching way above my weight class on this.
Not me.
My main promotion video for it got a little under 250,000 views.
The fact that this video has gotten 250,000 views, what the fuck is happening? I like this guy. This video looks like dog shit. So, like, the fact that this got 250,000 views means that this guy has got a genuine message. It's fucking crazy.
And about 15% of my audience is from EU countries who are eligible to sign. So that means I shouldn't have expected much more than 30 to 40,000 signatures from my audience, and we're over 10 times that. It's almost like a lot of people out there don't like having their games destroyed.
You hear a lot of excuses. I don't think that this guy is, like, making excuses. Like, I don't think that he's making excuses out of laziness. I just don't think that, like, he knows his own potential. I think that's the only thing. He's like, yeah, there's all these issues, and I don't really want to overcome them. He just seems like the kind of guy that doesn't want to be annoying. But in order to advocate for things, you have to be a fucking annoying asshole. So you got to learn to be a dick.
Anyway, most of the criticism I've seen for how I've run this campaign kind of comes down to be more popular. Yeah, sure, maybe everybody else knows how to do that. I don't. I kind of view that critique as similar to don't be poor financial advice.
Bro, dude, don't be poor.
And that's from people who support the campaign.
I have like a genuine question. This is even like a negative. I hope it doesn't. Is this guy have like a little autism? You know, like, like I'm not trying to be like a weird guy. I wonder if I don't know. But he seems like a genuine guy. I feel like he would be able to. He could actually probably do this initiative. He's like Asmongold if he would shower. Like he's like Asmongold that does shower. That's what I'm saying. You know what I mean? He's got that genuine look. You know, he's got like the Bernie Sanders. You know, Bernie Sanders never does his hair because he wants to look genuine. So he doesn't like do a bunch of hair and makeup. So he looks a little crazy, but you're like, I trust this guy, I think. Because he just seems like a genuine guy. You know, that's what we got here.
For all the support and fair coverage we've received, there's been some opposition too. Though I want to say 80, maybe even 90% of people who are against the initiative are against it because they think it's doing something it's not. For example, the #1 criticism about the initiative that we've never been able to shake is that it's unworkable because you can't expect publishers to support games forever. Yeah, we know.
Yeah, you don't need to. You just need to make it so that the publishers will allow open the game up for you to be able to support it yourself. Like, well,
that's why we've never asked for that.
Private servers.
I must have said this 100 times now. It was written on the website from day one, but this keeps coming up over and over again. See, that's the thing. As soon as you say 3 words on requiring end-of-life plans, gamers especially will jump to some conclusion, and I never know where they're going to land. Ironically, non-gamers tend to be much better at understanding the initiative, because they're not coming with a whole bag full of assumptions. A couple other criticisms are how this would violate copyright.
I could see that being a frustrating problem because people in general are set in their ways, and this is really an advocation to older gamers, and older people are fucking annoying because they're set in their ways, just to be absolutely clear. So I kind of get that. So he's got to like, you kind of like de-educate people. Well, you can't expect you can't expect people to actually like let you do that, but you know, it's like with like there's some people that are like it's a copyright issue, or you can't expect them to support it forever, or this that. Like that's obviously not what the whole point of advocation is here. But they're old, so you have to kind of like rework their fucking brains. But that's why it would work to do like a TikTok or something and get new people in here that'll be like, oh, I know what the fuck I'm talking about.
Law by forcing publishers to give up their intellectual property. No, it wouldn't. Some of you may want to pause this part. Or how this won't work because of end-user license agreements. That's also not a problem. Or how this isn't...
Bro, I don't understand. These arguments are so silly. Like, hey, you have to have a plan. You have to either tell us how long you're going to support the game for, so we go in there as a buyer in a way where, you know, we're able to make an informed decision, or you have to... What the fuck? Or you have to oh, I see. Sorry. You have to allow us to make an informed decision, or you have to have a pathway to let us continue to support the game ourselves on like some kind of private server if you decide to let the game go. There needs to be informed consent, basically, is the conversation.
It's impossible because publishers already have agreements with other companies and don't have the rights to distribute that code. We're aware of that. Yes, the initiative is still possible. Those are the ones I've seen most organically. Beyond that, there is a clear patient zero where others come from. Okay, I really don't want to do this next part, but it's become a liability for the campaign for me not to. Our biggest critic by far is YouTuber and streamer Pirate Software.
Damn. Are you talking about the guy that... Are you talking about the guy who doesn't know how to play World of Warcraft? The guy that was caught being a ferret furry YouTuber that sends ooh-woo messages to adult boys, by the way. Adult consenting boys, but also gay, that sends pictures of dogs, of VTuber-looking dogs jerking each other off as they sext with people. The gay furry guy, the gay furry gamer, who apparently is a Nepo baby, that has a whole stream of his ferrets. This is like a real thing, by the way. Leaves his party to leaves his party to die, even though he's playing a mage and can help safely guide people out. Is that what you're talking about? He's the one that plays fucking video games all day on his stream? That's the guy that's against this shit? What the fuck? That is actually bizarre as fuck, in my opinion.
Who goes by Thor.
Oh,
if your
shit.
only exposure to Stop Killing Games has been this video, then you've been...
Hey guys, it's me. I don't think there's enough Fudacock inside of this game, so I'm pretty sure that we're gonna have to shut this down. I can't advocate for this game because there's not enough Fudacock in it.
Misinformed.
There's actually too much Fudacock in it. I like actual boy cock. I like actual boy's cock.
By the way, I'm not trying to say he's like pedophile. Okay, when I say boy, I mean like just a guy. You know what I mean? The point is he's gay, and I'm being silly about it. But like, it's pretty. I love gay people, by the way. I jerk off them constantly, so just don't. Okay. Hey, want to pretext that? Okay. Hey guys, where's the regular dog cock? I'm waiting for that.
Video is by someone who does not understand the campaign, has been trying to stop it, and has been making up what it is about.
Damn. He's getting... Dude, Thor cannot hold... He just can't catch a fucking break.
Hey guys, fuck video games. I'm a gamer, but, you know, I don't give a fuck about actual video game communities or anything.
What the fuck?
I am not saying that lightly. I will...
Look at this furry dog attacking me. It's because Pirate Software programmed this game to attack people who criticize him. Mostly furry dog people.
Prove it in a minute. Now you might be thinking, okay, so some YouTuber got something wrong on the internet. So what?
Yeah, so what? So what is he, Papa Gut?
See, that was my thinking too. The problem is how incredibly influential this YouTuber has been.
Damn, and now he's getting absolutely booty blasted.
Remember that list of...
But not in the way he likes. I don't...
Coverage on the campaign? Well, best I can tell, Thor's coverage has been bigger than literally anyone else on those lists.
That's crazy.
Except Asmongold. And the only video Asmongold...
He's you know, people, he might be a little bit of a rough person to have on your side. But hey, check this out. This is for you, Thor. Fuck you!
Had on this bigger than Thor's...
I'm not like dog whistling violence, by the way. I'm just being silly.
...was about Thor's video. So for all practical purposes, Thor here...
I will not support this? Oh my god.
...here has been the #1 voice on the campaign, and he's been lying about what it is.
That's crazy. This seems like an easy fucking W. This seems like the easiest W ever. Is Thor a psyop? Are we talking about another rich Nepo baby streamer that is trying to whittle away social movements from the inside of Sunpiker? What the hell?
That's a bit loaded, though.
What the hell? Is this a bomb?
The second definition of lie. I have no evidence it's the first. This video came out right as we were building momentum. Then, except for one boost in Germany, the signatures started drying up like clockwork.
Damn.
This put me in kind of a
probably all the fires and the ovens that they have over in Germany. It's fucked up, man.
no-win scenario, too.
What the fuck?
Because if I ignored it, then a lot of people are going to get misinformed about the campaign.
True.
But if I did a response video, which is not something I wanted to do anyway, then it might look like drama farming, which could understandably turn off a lot of people from the campaign.
That's fair. I like this guy. He's a normal dude. He's not some kind of fucking drama gooner. He just really believes in this idea. I respect this guy, honestly.
Because it's not about that at all.
Oh, probably his father works at Blizzard, and apparently Thor runs indie games, which relies on live service garbage.
Hey guys, my dad works for Blizzard. I think they had to rename the character he was named after. McCree. I'm sorry, that was a little over the line. They had to rename McCree to, like, I don't know, fucking Jackson Hewitt or something because he had, like, problems with women or something like that. Hey.
So I quickly made this video trying to clear up all misconceptions and concerns about the initiative with timestamps for everyone's questions, hoping the truth would eventually come out. I can see now that was a mistake. I should have just embraced the drama. To this day, I'm still getting frequent...
That's the true reason why Thor does not want this to go through, because he's one of the game devs impacted by this. What's impacted by? It doesn't make any sense. Just have a pathway for you to be able to own, like, to play your own game later on. Like, what the fuck? Yeah, when we don't support this game in 10 years, we're gonna open up... I don't know how this works, so I'm gonna say fucking words. We're gonna open up the source code so that you can fucking locally host this game for yourself.
Comments and emails about the same falsehoods about the campaign that originated in this video. Well, now I have nothing to lose. If we don't get the signatures, then none of this matters anyway. So if this campaign is failing because of me not talking about this, then I'll at least correct history here on the way down.
Dude, this guy could unironically, like, he could just shift the content strategy of his main channel slightly, and he could become one of them, like, probably most prominent, best, most unique, most, I want to use, like, trusted voices about this topic ever. Like, he really just needs to reframe his strategy, and he needs to start getting himself in a place, and I think he could do it relatively easily, where he makes a living advocating for this thing. And, like, he could go down as, like, and not even from a drama perspective. This is the kind of guy that, like, you know, we do a lot of politics and shit, right? And, like, we do political slop, right? This is the kind of guy that can kind of transcend that stuff. So, like, this is the kind of guy that can have a conversation with Asmongold without it being a political conversation. It's just like, hey, let's just talk about games. And this is the kind of guy that you could trust, that he's like, this is my one initiative. This is my big initiative, is advocating for gamers and positive policy for it. And so I could talk to anybody as long as they're not, like, fucking crazy. Like, Asmongold's not like he's not like an actual, like, white supremacist or anything. He's just, you know, we'll say disagreeable. So he would be able to pull this off and be like, yeah, I talked to this person, and he'd be able to have these conversations with people regardless of, like, whatever political affiliation. I feel like he could really pull this off, and I know that people would be more than happy to attach themselves to him.
I'll get this over with and go over what I think are the biggest points of Pirate Software's videos. I'm not going to go over everything because collectively, Thor has made hours of video on both me and the movement.
Hey guys, here's why I should make more money, but I'm going to frame it as this is a bad policy.
I'd be here forever. Believe me, I could address smaller things too, and kind of...
No, don't talk about my penis!
Already have. Alright, let's start. Okay, point number 1. Thor does not understand what Stop Killing Games is. Here it is in his words.
So for those who don't understand...
there's a difference between Fuda and actual femboys. Okay? I'm more of a femboy enjoyer, slightly leaning to regular boys, adults, by the way. You know, and I like it when they dress up like ferrets. Actually, I'm the ferret. I like when they dress up like dogs. Something you could put a ferret into in the real world. But in this world, the ferret would be large size, and I would be putting my penis as a ferret into it. So it'd be the same fundamental principle. Just anthropomorphic. Also, my dad works for Blizzard. My dad works for Blizzard, so I know what I'm talking about here. Because they love anthropomorphic femboy cock over there. They had a thing called the Cosby Room. I didn't like that room. I think that's disgusting. But my dad actually had a room called the Michael Vick Room. And they would pound dogs in that room pretty hard. They would really go to town on dogs real hard, and I think that's pretty hot.
I think it's a beautiful thing. I think it's incredible. I think it's a...
Guys, I don't want to fuck a ferret. I just want to be the ferret. Okay?
The Stop Killing Games initiatives is basically we don't want single-player games to have DRM that the developers can turn off and thus render the single-player games inactive anymore.
Well, I feel like that's... What the hell's DRM? Digital rights management versus technologies used to control how digital content can be accessed. Well, actually, I would say, yeah, that too. Like, you should be able to have DRM, whatever, but then, like... So what this sounds like to me, and again, I might be uneducated, is there are single-player games that require an online component in some capacity that they turn off that online component and you can't play the single-player game. That's bullshit. They should have the online component if they want, but once they no longer support the media, there should be a pathway to still being able to play that game, even if there are some features missing, like events or something. As long as the things missing would be reasonable. Like, if you're like, oh, we can't do events anymore because we're not supporting it anymore. Like, okay, that's perfectly fair. But if you can't play, like, a fundamental aspect of the game, that's ridiculous.
This is what they want to change. They need to be specific that they're talking about single-player games that do not need a server to support them.
No.
And as much as they want it to be about specifically games where it is a single-player game that has always online functionality, it would impact every live service game that exists. Instead of just targeting single-player, always online games.
No, that's not what it is. Stop Killing Games includes single-player games, but nothing about it is specific to them.
Which it should.
He completely made that up, and I have no idea where he got that impression. This is what I mean. It's harder for gamers to understand this because they come with so many assumptions.
Yep, and Pirate Software just comes with ferrets. I'm sorry, dog things. What are they? Dog cosplay dogs. Arf?
It's like that saying about doctors being the worst patients.
True.
So let's clear this up. It's the first line on the website. Stop Killing Games is a consumer movement started to challenge the legality of publishers destroying video games they have sold to customers. But the movement includes all this stuff.
I mean, that's honestly, unironically, I'm not trying to glaze this guy. That's probably one of the best, like, taglines I've ever seen. That's so short, sweet, and comprehensive. Like, there's no way you could fuck that up or disagree with the movement.
Stuff from earlier, and
Well, I have to stop, dude. I'm not the one that likes ferrets this much.
Is mostly talking about the initiative. Well, the short version is the initiative is about requiring publishers to have end-of-life plans for games they've sold to customers in the future. So when they shut them down, customers can continue running them without their support.
This is perfect. This guy couldn't have packaged this any better.
The long version depends on what kind of transaction is being made. As
I'm playing as my dad now.
You can see, it's not easy to explain in a soundbite. But if you notice, we don't make a distinction between single-player and multiplayer games.
You shouldn't.
That's because the law doesn't either.
I don't think that you should, even if the law did.
So why make this even harder? Both the movement and the law are...
Oh, wait, that's the thing. Birdie, I think somebody apparently groomed them into shoving a ferret up their ass. I forgot about that. So yeah, maybe Pirate Software... Oh my god, Pirate, did you do that? Just kidding.
Making distinctions on how games are sold. Also, that part he said about it affecting all live service games, yes and no. It would affect most live service games in the future, but the initiative is not retroactive. So that's one thing Thor doesn't understand, but...
Interesting. So is he saying that he's trying to push for this in the future, but everything that exists now wouldn't be affected? I mean, okay, fair enough.
The initiative is not retroactive.
That's fair. That's a fair boundary. Hey, we get this law passed at the beginning of 2026. Every game from 2026 on has to do this, and I think that's a great first step. And then try to get people the games that exist now to make a meaningful push over to it.
So that's one thing Thor doesn't understand, but he also seems to think this is about converting multiplayer games to single player.
No.
Once again, he made that up. And
dude, I remember playing Warcraft 3, and I'm pretty sure Warcraft 3, before they fucking ruined it by doing Reforged and like they changed all these fundamental aspects, was online, but you always locally hosted everything. I'm pretty sure even the there was just an online interface, and I think even competitive matches. I remember playing a lot of I played a lot of Dota, so, and like tower defense games. I love tower defense games. I like the traditional ones where you could do like funky tower defense stuff. Is awesome. All of those were locally hosted. You had like an online interface, but then like I remember like somebody would leave the Dota game, and then like that person was hosting the game, so the game crashed. And I think they eventually made it so that you could like, it will switch to a different host or something. I don't really remember. That's how games used to be. That's all is basically being asked for, is the ability to local host at a certain point.
I have no idea why he thought that.
Good times.
Transitioning an entire multiplayer server-side game into a single-player video game, which means rebalancing the entire experience, rebuilding everything in the entire game. How are you going to do that with Final Fantasy XIV? You're just going to
I'm making things up right now.
make all the raids soloable? Imagine,
what are you, stupid?
in the day that World of Warcraft shuts down, and suddenly you have to make it a single-player game for every individual that ever bought the game.
Wow, that's crazy. Imagine this guy wasn't a dumb lying fuck, and all the other guy in the video wants to do is say like, hey, when World of Warcraft does inevitably shut down, they just make it so that you can accessibly host it yourself, so you can play with some people, and then maybe they can even augment the source code in some capacity, so that they can fucking like change the private server, which they already do right now. So that's kind of like very obviously reasonable. We already have that. There are already so many private servers. And to Blizzard's credit, they don't even like fucking tell people to stop usually, except for that one big vanilla WoW server. So like that's what they're asking for. They're just like, hey, make sure that we have the ability to do this ourselves. So if that's some fucking nerd wants to host it for him and his fucking 50 friends to play the goddamn game, then they can do whatever the fuck they want.
That's what they're asking for.
No.
That's what they're asking
they would
for.
have to sunset live service games as a single-player experience. The idea that suddenly you need to make every single live service game playable single-player offline.
That's
no,
oh my god, this guy's a fucking loser.
Correct.
Dude, he fired himself for such a loser.
No. This one is particularly baffling to me because I've heard most counter-arguments before, but until Thor, I've never heard this one. That we want the industry to convert all multiplayer games into single-player ones. I keep saying it, you never know where gamers are going to take this.
Nope.
That is an absurd assumption, though, just to be clear.
Where in there does it say that it's directly targeting always online single-player games?
Oh, he's so close. He's so close to getting it.
It is vague, and because of that, it will impact.
He never has that light bulb moment. Well, he is correct in that statement. It's almost as if that's not what the initiative is asking for. But those were his streams with a smaller audience. What does he say in his big YouTube video with over 1 million views that he had?
Damn, he just viewer shamed him. Those are in his streams that are fucking dog shit. Nobody watches anyway. Got him. Yeah, it seems like he hasn't streamed since this video came out.
Time to research.
The shaman.
If we're trying to kill off the practice of developers putting together a
guys, my dad needs a job.
Live service game, pitching it as a single player experience, and then taking away support in the future.
Now he's changed it again and is making up how it's about single-player games are advertised.
Damn, this is just such a funny picture of Thor, because like, this guy is not a drama farmer, but I couldn't come up with a better picture to make fun of this fucking guy, so I'm stealing it. I'm stealing it for my thumbnail. Check it out. We're gonna keep it there, okay?
What is he doing?
It needs to be specific about the business practice it's trying to defeat, which is specifically companies that are doing this under the guise of it being a single-player game, but adding online-only functionality that is not necessary and doesn't add any gameplay elements.
What? I'm not understanding. Is he now saying that they should only be going after games that force you to be online, even though you don't need to necessarily be online? That was fucking insane. And that's Why does he need to narrow his scope to that? Why can't he say that, like, oh, MMOs should open up their shit if they decide to stop doing their whatever so that people can host it? What? I don't understand.
That's the problem.
No, that's not it at all.
And there are some
it's like a concern trolling here.
Yeah, I want to pretend to be really reasonable. So what he's almost there, but he's not quite good enough. That's fucking absurd. But he's not quite there yet. He doesn't quite understand what he's talking about. You can't expect MMOs to charge a bunch of money and then just disappear and not allow you to ever play the game again. Like, obviously, that's just part of life, man, because my dad works for Blizzard.
They'll say, well, just make it all single player.
Like
well,
you?
I've explained that doesn't make any sense in the first place. If you're making it all single player, you'd have to carve off all of that, and it's developer time and money. These are two different ideologies, and that's okay to have two different ideologies. I just won't agree with it.
But those aren't the ideologies. Nothing in the initiative is asking to convert games to single player.
Nowhere in there does it say that it's directly targeting always online single player games.
Yeah, so why does he keep bringing it up? This is a total red herring.
If we don't like the idea of live service games as a whole, I get it. Don't play live service games then. Don't agree to those terms.
No, he's getting a new thing wrong now. We're not against them existing. We're against them being destroyed with no recourse for the customer.
Yeah, and it's I feel like part of the issue of advocating for this, outside of Pirate Software just making up representation for it, is that one of the problems is that we aren't really seeing it too heavily in too much of a pronounced way. Right, like games haven't really, like, we saw a big part of it, which was classic WoW. I just wonder what Pirate Software thinks of that vanilla WoW server shutting down. Like, I wonder, does he think it's okay for Blizzard to basically not support an entire game? Because I think that classic and modern are very different. Excuse me. I'll read Pirate Software's tweet after. But like, that should be that's at least a modern example. Why isn't he not aware of that? What the fuck?
Just use logic. If we didn't like them in the first place, why would we care if they're being destroyed? He says he gets it, but he doesn't.
Oh, okay. He has his response here, and he also has the ferret. By the way, I wasn't kidding about him and the ferret. Well, I was making jokes about it, but he does love ferrets a lot. I'll read these after. It looks like he doubles down a bit, though. We'll read this after this video is done.
Let's talk about the actual bad business practices. In the case that a studio is making a live service game and they sell it to you as a product, they say that you are purchasing the game or you are buying the game, when in reality you're actually purchasing or buying a license to that game. I think that we should be fighting about that.
I don't think that you should be able to sell fucking licenses to games. Like, in the case of an MMO, I have no problem with you selling a subscription, right? I have no problem with that. To the live service support. I have no problem with an MMO charging you to buy a game and then have a subscription to the game and then not allowing you to play a private server if they still have support of the game, right? Like, I think it's okay for World of Warcraft to say, like, hey, we have classic WoW out. You can't go into a private server and do your own thing, but you can, like, pay us $15 a month. I think that's okay because they designed it and they want to support it themselves. But once they don't do that anymore, you should be able to have access to it. I think that the concept of you buying licenses is fucking stupid as absolute fucking piss and shit inside of my anus. I don't really understand it. Why is there piss in my anus? Because I put a ferret up there and it pissed in my fucking ass. That's why, okay? Don't judge me. Don't judge me unless you're ready to be judged. Okay? Holy fuck.
Initiative is not trying to call that out specifically. It's trying to say that all games need to stay in a functional, playable state.
Yes!
Which is not calling out the language that is being used to manipulate the player.
The N-word?
Call that out specifically.
What the fuck?
Okay, I don't know if he's doing this intentionally. I'll be charitable and assume he's not. But this is some serious obfuscation.
I mean, he's either being intentionally malicious or just being stupid.
He's complaining that the initiative isn't focused on another topic he made up. I mean, what is that logic? Hey, the initiative doesn't address how Capcom changed the look of Dante in the Devil May Cry reboot either. That may as well be what he's saying there. I am not aware of a game on the planet with a license agreement that says you are not buying a license. Our problem is not with licenses failing to inform people. Blizzard says they can take away your purchase for no reason. That sounds pretty clear to me.
I would imagine, I wonder if part of that is because of, like, trolls. So that one, like, I don't know exactly how it manifests, but that one might be because, like, toxic players. So, like, in the online place, they might be able to take away your agreement. So I don't know. I don't know if that's specifically what it's referring to. If it is, I kind of understand that, and that's like a different conversation to have about, like, because it says termination. So that might be what that is. They might have a thing where it's like, well, if you're toxic trolling and you're ruining the online experience for other people, we can terminate your purchase at any time. And by the way, I agree with that. So
our problem is those terms are so hostile to consumers and the medium that they should be taken off the table entirely. This needs regulation. Forget video games. If you look at basic commerce for hundreds of years, when you paid money, you either got to keep what you paid for,
or cheaters, or cheaters.
You were told when your access ends. The vast majority of online-only games do neither of those.
Yeah, you make an informed decision. All this guy is saying is that he wants you to either have an end-of-life plan for the game so that when you buy it, you know that it'll only exist for potentially however long, so that you can make an informed decision, which frankly wouldn't even really change players' mentality. Or, and frankly, I think it should be end, you allow people the ability to host that game themselves in some capacity. Even if you have to host your own MMO, yeah, you can't play it by itself, but that's okay. But maybe somebody will host it, and then everybody can play it.
The games industry is trying to upend basic commerce. I think you have to go back.
This is like the most reasonable thing I've ever seen. How the fuck could Pirate Software disagree with this?
Back to feudalism before neither of those things are true.
Whoa!
Why even have consumer laws if you have no rights?
If you try to tell me that every studio needs to run their live service game indefinitely or not want to run one at all, then no one's going to run them.
Yeah, that's true. But who the fuck said that? What's this guy talking about? He's just making things up. He's completely reframing this entire initiative. That's just about live service games that require internet components. To say, hey, you have to allow the consumer to be informed when they purchase. Either you tell them it's going to run for 10 years and then they shut it down, or, in my opinion, the next part should be the actual thing. You have to allow people to still play the game in some capacity, even if it means they host it themselves. That's it. It doesn't have to be fully functional. You don't have to make it so that a single person can play a fucking MMO by themselves, but that you should have access to host a server yourself so other people can play if you want to.
Oh no! He wheeled out that line about publishers having to support the game forever. He was literally watching the video earlier where it says it won't do that in big letters.
Look at that. What the initiative would not do. Require endless support. Require publishers to give up source code. I think that they should have to give up source code, frankly. But again, it wouldn't require them to, but that would be one of the alternatives, I imagine, right? Is that what I don't know if source code, I don't even know what the fuck that means. But either allow people to host it themselves or at least make people informed buyers.
That wasn't enough. We just can't stop gamers from going there, even when we spell it out. I admit, guys, this part hurts. To see the biggest voice on this issue get it wrong again and again and again, then put that same wrong information on blast to a far bigger audience than we can reach. It hurts.
Well, I think you could reach so far the bigger audience.
He does.
Especially, let's be fucking real, especially since people do not like this guy right now, so you could definitely reach that audience, you know?
Doesn't get it. He doesn't understand what we're asking for. Now,
I don't really know the difference between, like, is source code different than, like, the ability to host servers? Probably, I don't really know.
To be fair, it sounded like he was getting a little closer in this video. Yeah, despite being called 2, it's at least the 4th video he did on this.
You want that to stay in a functional, playable state. That means
it's so sad because this guy's not like a fucking drama commentary guy. So like he's been sitting offline. This guy's been getting up, working every day, trying to push an initiative so that consumers are just better informed when purchasing games, especially online ones. And he's like watching these videos offline, going like, "Oh man, this is so hurtful to me. This sucks. What do I do?"
Devs have to release either server binaries or somehow carve off the game to be a single-player experience now.
That's better, but he's still
What's a server binary? Exactly. What does that mean?
Talking about converting the single-player right to the end. He never completely got it.
It just seems like Pirate's making up the outcome for whatever reason. He's just making up what he thinks the outcome would be. I mean, that could be an outcome. Frankly, I don't think it would be that difficult in 10 years to make it so that you could play a multiplayer game in a single player capacity by using AI. But then that's a whole conversation about whether we should or shouldn't use AI. But
so pirate software did not.
Source code would mean you can create the whole game versus hosting means you would just allow someone to kind of input their own server. Yeah, allow them to host.
Not understand the initiative. Maybe still doesn't. That means the majority of his critique is about things it would not do, like kill all MMOs.
If that passes, enjoy never playing an MMO again for the rest of your life.
Wow, that's crazy.
And taking away.
You know what I would enjoy? If you stopped the fake voice.
Away from every other person that plays MMOs.
It really wouldn't. And I've explained why in that video.
Damn.
But the short version is companies would have to stop liking money for that to happen.
I like how this guy has a video called 39, I answer 39 of your questions or whatever. And by the way, that video is perfect to clip up and put out onto TikTok, YouTube, blah, 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 with a little intro that's, hey, I'm answering 39 questions about stop killing games, the initiative to fucking allow live service games or require live service game makers to provide a pathway for end-of-life care, something like that. This is question number 1. This is question number 2. You know, you do the same intro and you answer. You know what I mean? Like,
lots of money. But his number 1 criticism is that he thinks the initiative is vague.
Incredibly vague. Too vague. Very vague. Damn vague. It's vague. It's vague. That is vague. Too vague. Vaguely written. Vague. Incredibly vague. Vaguely worded. Vague.
That's incredible because, like, if it's so vague, then why wouldn't you just reframe it and be like, hey, guys, this is one of the biggest problems. He's pretending that it's vague. It's really not very vague. But if you thought it was vague, what you would say is like, hey, I like the general idea. I just think that you should be specific and be like, hey, but this guy is specific. He just doesn't think that he can even criticize because, like, that's the thing is it's not about it being vague. He's concern trolling. He's reasonability trolling. That's what Thor is doing. He's sitting here giving you dumb bullshit, fake criticisms of it in a way that sounds like, oh, I kind of like the movement. It's just like really off direction, even though it's not because he doesn't like what's going on. He's like, to me, he's just dog whistling no advocation for this movement because it would require accountability on his dad who works for Blizzard. I mean, that's literally all it seems like.
Vague. This is vague.
This goes on. Well, from Thor's perspective, his logic is pretty sound for this part. But the thing about logic is it's only as good as your assumed truths. And he's said multiple times now that he thinks the initiative is only about single-player games. So since he's expecting the thing he made up, but that's not what the initiative is asking for, he thinks it's vague. Because for him, it is.
Nowhere in there does it say that it's directly targeting always online single-player games. It is vague.
Yeah, in fact, if we look at that long definition again, let's add a subsection just for Thor. Single-player games with an online DRM check. Those would already fall under this broader category. So Thor is expecting this. Again, I don't know why, but instead he's seeing an initiative that covers all of this. That's why he calls it vague 50 times. The thought that we want what we're asking for and not the thing he made up seems to have never entered his head. The initiative is trying to stop the destruction of games. That's the whole point. It covers the types of games most in need of saving.
Yeah, and frankly, what it sounds like is that there are a lot of video game publishers, creators, I don't really give a fuck what words you use, that are making even single-player games licenses now so that what they can do is 5 years, 10 years from now, when they decide they don't want to support it, but they want you to still they don't want to support it anymore, but they know you have a desire to play that game, they could take it, disappear, Farting Mists 1 and force you to buy Farting Mists the remake, or you're going to have to get Farting Mists 4. So to me, it just sounds like a long-term cash grab. We could just take away the old version of the game and make you buy a newer version of the game, so you have to basically double dip. That's all it sounds like to me. It sounds like a long-term cash grab, which is going to kill innovation. If you can say, hey, we're going to make Farting Mists 1, and you're not really buying it, you're buying a license, 10 years from now it's gone. The only way that you could play Farting Mists 1 now, though, is if we resell a remake, because we have made arbitrary online play that shouldn't exist. So now you have to buy Farting Mists the remake, so we get to double dip. And by the way, we just got you to pay twice for basically the same game with really no additional investment on the remake, and now we make more money, and now we're not forced to engage in innovation. And that's a huge problem, because like obviously you want games to innovate and be better in different ways as time goes on. Farting Mist 4 has too many microtransactions. I agree with you. But it sounds like the tactic. It's just a long-term money grab. And that fucks over consumers. And it also kills, like, I remember, like, being, like, it kills the concept of, I mean, this is already kind of dead because we're in a digital world, but, like, back in the day, or not back in the day, like, I know, like, what it feels like to go to a store that sell, like, in a nostalgia store, regardless of the media, and it's like, wow, this is cool, you know, like an antique store. That kind of disappears here because, like, your former video version of your game is just dead and it's gone. It doesn't exist anymore. You have nothing to, like, fucking nostalgia to engage in nostalgia on. Feels like the same thing as when you try to turn on like cable TV anymore. It's like gone. You know, you remember watching like Nickelodeon and falling asleep and then waking up and it's fucking Nick at Night. You know, it's like you're losing that feeling.
If we only covered this tiny subsection, that would save maybe 1% or less of games that get destroyed. This would do almost nothing. I'm not saying there isn't one, but I literally can't think of a game that meets this criteria. Every game I know of with single-player content that's been destroyed has been designed to run server-side, not locally. Older ones like that tend to have the DRM cracked, which is not an ideal solution, but that does stop game destruction. And newer ones with the Denuvo or something tend to have it removed by end of life. So I say less than 1%, but this might save 0% of games. I'm not sure. The initiative is actually not that vague. Though to be fair, some people did get hung up on this part. A reasonably playable or functional state. True,
that's a little vague, but I think that's something that the law would be open to interpret. And like a reasonably playable, like you could say like, okay, well, what about an MMO? That's not reasonably, you know, what's reasonably playable? If they still support it, sure. But like in that instance, it would just be you would have the ability to host it yourself, right? So then you would just clarify that. I think that's perfectly reasonable.
Is not 100% specific. There are reasons for that. You know how in law, police can stop a suspect with reasonable suspicion?
Or if they're black, right? Black Lives Matter.
Or a jury.
I don't know how they move so fast.
You find someone guilty beyond all reasonable doubt? That's because the number of situations you face are so varied that the law has to inject some common sense somewhere.
Yeah.
It's the same with games. A multi-million-dollar MMO is a different animal from a budget arena shooter. It won't work making highly specific laws. That's one half of it. The other half of it is this sentence is an olive branch to publishers. I've heard
yeah, that makes sense, to kind of let them decide to say like, hey, why don't you set your own reasonable rules for this? Sure.
Complaints this isn't specific enough. Okay, but you know what the alternative to this would be? Here, I'll show you. The game must be fully functional and contain 100% of all features as advertised. So as a publisher, which requirement would you rather meet? More importantly, this sentence shows the EU Commission that we're acting in good faith and trying to find a balance. I think some of the people asking for this to be more specific may not realize what they're asking for. I know some won't believe this, but...
No, I think Thor does realize what he's asking for. I think he's doing reasonable trolling. He's doing the trolling of being reasonable. It's fake reasonable. He knows that like the things that he's saying are fucking dumb, and he's really just doesn't support this initiative because it would take away money from game publishers. That's my opinion. But he comes up with these fake arguments of like, well, it seems too vague. It seems like this. He's just picking apart and then lying about the narrative because I think he has a vested interest in protecting game creators more than the actual gaming community. That's what I think it is.
A hell of a lot of thought went into the wording of the initiative. I think it's almost perfect. See, the initiative isn't even a proposed bill. It's a negotiation. Our side says we want games to be functional when publishers end support, so they need end-of-life plans. The industry's position is going to be against whatever we write and claim they need no regulation whatsoever. Then the EU Commission gets to decide who is more in the right here. The Citizens Initiative is the opening offer in these negotiations. Trust me, the industry...
And to be honest with you, even if they were unreasonable and said that they needed 100% support, you can make an argument that like it's the job of the developer to fight back And that's kind of how the law works, no? Like, well, it's the responsibility of the developer to kind of fight back and push against the narrative themselves. So we're not going to be particularly concerned with that part. Let them advocate to bring it down. You know, if you start reasonable, then where do you go from there, you know? So...
industry worth hundreds of billions of dollars will make its position known to the EU. We don't have to make their case for them. So for this negotiation, simple is good. That's why we're straight and to the point for what we want. Then the industry will argue against that. Then the EU Commission might look for compromises. You don't start a negotiation with a bunch of compromises because then it'll get so watered down you won't save anything. Oh, and that long definition list are actually logical extensions of the simpler language used in the initiative. It's actually kind of slick. Plus, there's a character limit on these things. The EU Commission doesn't want you trying to cover 50 edge cases at this phase.
That makes sense. That actually makes perfect sense. Right? An edge case would be like, okay, like this would apply really well to 99% of games, but that one game maybe would have a trouble, and then we could, you know, you don't need to cover those because that's like for them to be like, okay, well, what about this like really specific scenario? And they could be like, oh, okay, well, in this really specific scenario, you just have to define it really well, and then we could do that. Yeah. Sure, that makes perfect sense.
All right, so Pirate Software did not understand the initiative. But point two, he also did not make it easy for the truth to get out. I had never heard of him prior to all this, but during the campaign, I had dozens of people contacting me, telling me how wise and reasonable he is, how he's really pro-consumer and represents...
And then this all started when he couldn't even escort his team out properly. Shaking my fucking head. Any tips for going to the gym the first time? Look up Starting Strength by Mark Ripto, and look up Alan Thrall on YouTube. I would buy the book, Starting Strength, and then look at Alan Thrall. He's a great resource.
Developers, I should really talk to him. Great, let's do it. So this was my first encounter of him.
Oh shit, now this is actually really dumb. It's used car salesman garbage. This is shit. It's shit. Not only do I not want to back this, I'm going to actively tell people not to.
Whoa, what a great guy.
That is awful. That is horrible goddamn direction.
That's fucked up. He just because the guy looks a little crazy there. That's fucked up. I really like this. His name is Ross. I like this guy.
That's awful, dude. No.
I trust him with my ferrets. I don't know. I'm not entirely sure if I would trust Pirate Software with my ferrets, but I would trust him with my ferrets.
Eat my entire ass. The level of stupid that I just had to receive was like sitting on Twitter for 12 hours. This shit sucks.
Isn't that all this guy does?
That's a really stupid-ass move. That's an incredibly stupid-ass move. I think this is ass.
What's wrong with ass moves, dude? What are you, fucking gay? Wait.
This is complete garbage. Kidding. All of this can eat shit, then.
Damn.
I dropped the mask entirely.
Entirely.
I have no
I'm based as hell.
qualms about that. They can eat my entire ass.
Whoa! They can or you want them to? These seem to be two different conversations we're having here.
That sounds stupid as shit.
Oh, yeah. I can see why people like him. It's like listening to Mr. Rogers.
I love this guy. That was his biggest insult that he'd ever like come up with. I like this guy. He's like, yeah, this guy, like just like silly, like non mean sarcasm is just so funny.
As you can imagine, we've been less than thrilled that Thor here has become the dominant voice of the campaign.
True.
Especially when he doesn't understand it. Though I did find the used car salesman part amusing, since if people could read my mind, they would understand how much I dread anything resembling sales or marketing, or just trying to push things on people who aren't interested in them. I'm not exaggerating when I said I've hated having to run this campaign.
This is the most uneducated take I have ever seen in games.
Oh my god. Me when I'm talking about myself?
Now, as for that one, I do have a bachelor's in criminal justice, which might explain why I'm coming at this.
Yeah, but your dad doesn't do Blizzard. Your dad is not a Blizzard employee, dude.
From very different angles than he is. You know, focusing on people having rights and checking what consumer law actually says, rather than what's most convenient for publishers. Though I think I know where that comment is coming from because I've gotten it before. Here's what I think is happening. Online-only games have a client and a server, but a lot also have middleware.
It's like a prostitute. She's the server. He sometimes, pirate, just so you understand?
That developers don't have permission to distribute to customers, or depend on microservices they have no control over, and the server software isn't even designed to run on a customer system. You can't just cut out the middleware and remove the microservices because they're integrated too deeply. That would still leave the game bricked and could take months to fix and be a lot of work.
I'm pretty bricked up right now.
Some devs think we're saying all they need to do is just release the server binaries at end of life, and yay, everything is solved. And that's why they think we're ignorant. Well, for some games that could work, but not ones like these.
Okay, I don't understand exactly what he's saying, but it sounds like he's saying that there are games like World of Warcraft that seems to be that you can just release the ability to host the server like that and everybody could play it, but there are some games where there's some level of integration where it's not that simple in some capacity. I don't quite understand it, and so there might need to be a different concession in that instance. Okay, I don't understand it specifically, but I think I kind of understand what he's saying.
Plus, that's not what we're saying. First off, we're not even mandating the methodology because, again...
No, you could just say, hey, our game has a lifespan of 10 years so that people have informed consent.
Doing that could run afoul of copyright law. Second, this whole diagram is looking at a game that exists right now and was never designed to have an end-of-life plan. Those might not be salvageable.
Right. That's why they're limiting it to anything moving forward. Yeah, sure.
What we're saying is let's take a game in the future. No code has been written yet. It's still just a design.
They have to write the code with this in mind. And frankly, you might see a third-party company come in and come up with the way to like fill the hole in the things. Fuck.
Design document. Okay, so we have the client portion as usual. Then we have the server logic. Now we'll bring in our usual middleware and microservice vendors. Nope. Stop. Now, the EU says we can't just brick customer purchases like we've been doing if we want to sell our games there. So that...
okay. So it's, to me, maybe it sounds like the reason they have it's so complex is so that they can brick your shit. This way you can't play it anymore. Is that what we're saying? That would be interesting.
Means we can't keep making all these same deals the way we have been. Now we need to renegotiate with the vendors to allow for an end-of-life build with their software. Or redesign things to make the microservices easier to sever at end of life. And vendors probably will renegotiate. Otherwise, they'll start losing sales to everyone who wants to sell games in the EU. But say a vendor refuses anyway. Then we need to go with vendor B, who will offer EU-compliant solutions because they will be happy to take money away from their competitor, vendor A. Or maybe we need to abandon one of the microservices altogether and come up with an in-house alternative that is compatible with an end-of-life plan. And if the server can't run on consumer hardware, well, maybe now we code it in a way that's more versatile and can be compiled to run a stripped-down version with less features for the customer machine at end of life. Or hey, if that's not doable, then we scrap that, but still give customers some form of server software at end of life because now we've planned for this, and inform them it requires specialized hardware, and they're on their own for getting it working. And these are all just suggestions. The publisher would get to decide how they want to comply. Thor is not alone in developers trashing what I just said. I don't know why, but some of the nastiest insults I've received on the entire campaign have been when I try to explain this is what we're asking for. This part in particular triggers some people to no end.
That video...
Well, yeah, it would make sense that a developer who pretends to be a relatable individual is actually a Nepo baby would be a dumb fucking asshole.
Made me actually mad. Like real mad. Not like fake memes mad, like actually mad. Like I'm actually mad.
I don't think he's actually mad, just to be clear.
Upsetting people is not our goal, by the way.
I don't know why you'd be upset about this. The initiative so that you get to play video games you buy. What a tough sell. Who would be against that? Oh, wait a minute. Maybe somebody who makes video games?
I actually want this transition to be as easy as possible for publishers and developers. However, we are stubbornly against proposals that won't stop commercial games being destroyed. Because that's the whole point. Anyway, you heard Thor's comments for me. In light of that, I think I've been pretty diplomatic. I am just trying to get this initiative passed.
True.
If that means I have to get insulted all along the way, okay. So with that in mind, I reached out to him, not expecting to change his mind, but to at least clarify things since he got so much wrong.
All right, this is the defining moment. After all the ridiculous, dumb bullshit that Pirate has said about this that's been blatantly incorrect, let us see what his response is in the DMs. Okay. Now, hopefully this guy reached out as some kind of a dog, furry dog. Maybe sent a dog licking its own penis like an ice cream cone. I've seen Thor send messages like that myself. Not to me, unfortunately. That's probably the most effective way to get his attention, but let's see how it manifests.
If you're going to hate us, at least hate us for what we're actually doing, not for things that are made up about us.
I got a message from Ross. There were many other misunderstandings in your
Damn. This is a message. Why the fuck are you signal boosting? Is this a message from him, or is this in the comment section? Probably in the comment section.
Video. It's clear that you hate the initiative, and I doubt I would change that. That is correct. I would encourage you to at least hate it for what it accurately is. I do.
He says that so confidently. Oh yeah, you knocked it out of the park. You understood everything.
In other words, the customer is told explicitly that their access ends at the time of payment. Most live service games do not do this, which could run afoul of EU law.
Would I play Pirate Software's game if he releases it? What's the game? And no.
Most is patently incorrect.
Patently incorrect? Okay, for those who don't know much about live service games, that's like saying the Earth isn't round. He says verifiably false things so confidently. If his viewers don't know any better, how can I blame anyone for believing what he says about the initiative when he talks like that?
I mean, that is a fair thing to say. Sorry. So, as Pirate Software's point is that every single game company that you license your games from, instead of buying them, which is fucking crazy, they tell you when the end of life is going to be, so that you have an informed decision-making process. What?
Believing what he says about the initiative when he talks like that. It's incredible. And he does not wish to discuss this with me or anyone else in the initiative. Why not?
Yeah, because I really don't understand. Like, I think that Pirate Software is actually a dumb fucking malicious idiot. I think that's literally all it can be. Because if he has a misinterpretation, if he's literally looking at the slideshow and misinterpreting information, and then this guy reaches out and says, like, hey, I think you got some things wrong. Can we talk about it? And he's like, I'm not going to talk to you about it. Why? Why are you so afraid of being wrong about this? That makes no sense. Like, oh, you got it wrong on, like, how this manifests. Why not just be like, oh, you know what? I must have misheard you when you said XYZ. Why is he so aggressive about doubling down? Is his ego more important than, like, the actual truth or protecting consumers? Or does he know that he fucked it up, but since he's a game dev, he doesn't want to have a restriction put on him, so he's just trying to, like, fucking throw out a ton of disinformation? Like, what is it?
Would you consider reaching out and talking to Ross about it? No. And the reason why is because I found his entire statement over the YouTube incredibly disingenuous.
Incredibly disingenuous. There might be a little bit of projection there. What do you guys think about that? Might be a little bit of projection from our boy here.
Yes, this issue which has bothered me since I was a teenager and I've spent 10 years on trying to push back against is me being disingenuous.
You guys know that he's still a teenager?
Where is this coming from?
Fuck!
Well, it comes from a slide I had in my promotional video, the half-joke slide. He hated this, and I think he may have a rather...
The what, half-joke slide?
The half-joke slide.
Reasons the EIC could pass. Politicians like easy wins. Politicians most likely don't care about video games. The law already unclear on the practice. The initiative is in line with other consumer policies. It's like a diversion from more serious topics. I mean, this is just kind of like a silly additive. I don't understand why. Do you think he's really offended by this? I wouldn't doubt it.
Hated this. And I think he may have a rather privileged view of politics.
You want to put together legislation because it's the right thing to do.
We did.
Not because you can convince legal representatives to do it no matter what.
I mean, you want to do both. What? This guy's an idiot. There's no way. Like, he knew what that meant. You guy was just being a little silly. It's like, hey, it could be an easy win for you guys. Like, he's just being silly, but he obviously cares about this.
It's both. These are not mutually exclusive things.
The idea that we're going to go through this.
Papa got from the infamous clip with Dr. K. Thor openly says he's never wrong, and people is always misunderstanding him. Oh my god. Dude, I hate to be fucking like terminally online brain, but this is literally Hassan Piker, no? What is up with these fucking people that are just so fucking like they're just Nepo babies that just have no understanding of anything, and they just think they're always right even when they're blatantly wrong.
Just because it's an easy win, but not the right win? No, dude.
Oh, God.
No, dude. Dude, you know what you need to do? We need to get a bunch of ferrets together, and we need to give them aphrodisiacs. I hear Ryan's horn. A rhino's horn. What the fuck? Who the fuck's Ryan? What the fuck? Ryan Beard? And we got to see what they do for scientific purposes. I really deeply believe in this topic. So actually, I'm doing this for research for my new game called Ferret Fun Island. It's about ferrets doing things completely consensually, by the way.
So we misunderstood the initiative.
I'm sorry, guys. I'm so sorry. It's just the ferret thing is so funny to me.
And misunderstood our intentions. And in his words, this is why he refuses to have a dialogue with the movement. So now I have to address it. Let's keep it basic. He calls me disingenuous, implying I don't believe what I'm pushing for, that this is some sort of con.
The hell?
That's uncharitable to the point of being silly. Besides
I don't even think it's uncharitable. I think it's intentionally malicious.
Video evidence going back 10 years, this is not a hard concept to grasp. I hate seeing creative works needlessly destroyed when people are trying to save them. And video games are where I see that happen the most. Of course I believe in what I'm advocating for.
It's so interesting, because why didn't Thor just come up with a different strategy to shit on this guy's perspective? Right? Like, come up with something else. Come up with something better. Just be like, oh, I think it's a bad idea, because then just start shitting yourself. Like, you know what I mean? That might be a better argument.
Maybe start...
Literally just shit all over yourself. Just do it.
From there. I'm a little surprised that didn't...
Use it as lube to put the Ferris up your ass, you know what I mean? Sorry.
Sink in.
The idea of getting it to pass with an easy win instead of pass because it's good is a problem to me. Absolute problem.
That's not how politics works. Do you think things pass because they're good ideas? Tell that to people who still have lead in their water. A lot of...
Hey, listen, I could write with my tongue. It's a joke, because they used to put lead in pencils, if you're old enough to remember that. So that's the joke, is that I drink so much lead that I actually can use my tongue as a pencil. You know, it's that's the joke. It's for anybody who didn't understand the joke. I just wanted to explain it to anybody who didn't get it. You know,
gamers are jaded with good cause. The industry has been shaking them down every which way. The perception that it's hopeless to protect our rights against billion-dollar conglomerates is often correct. If I told people this would pass just because it's a good idea, I wouldn't believe me.
Yeah, well, I mean, this guy has done quite a bit more than that. And still, the representatives of million and billionaires seem to be really against him. So
this slide is a half joke, but it's also some totally cynical reasons that are...
Well, yeah, politicians like easy wins. Like, that is a cynical reason. It's like making fun of politicians a little bit. It's being a little silly.
Often true to let people know we have a chance, and this isn't...
Thank you for explaining. Now it's twice as funny. Thank you. I appreciate that. I wanted to make sure you understood the joke. It makes it much more...
utterly hopeless. Do you think I or most people in the movement give a damn why politicians might pass something good? What we care about is that they pass something good. We don't need them to be true believers. We need them to pass good law.
True.
This is as soft as it possibly gets in politics. I think most politicians...
A consumer protection law? Yeah, that is pretty soft.
...would find this slide funny. It sounds like he's offended...
It's a little tongue-in-cheek. Little cheeky. Yeah? Do I sound like an English person?
I have a low opinion of the political process. Well, I'm the one in the trenches here.
True.
I'm not sure if he's upset
on the
at
ground.
me or just upset at reality. Yeah, I am too. Anyway, he went on to delete my reply to him. Thankfully, someone backed it up, and I figured...
Damn, he deleted the reply. Dude, Pirate is such a fucking cuck.
Okay.
What? There's no... Dude, watching this guy, he's genuine. If nothing else, he's a genuine guy. So Pirate watched one of the most genuine... The fucking most genuine people that I've really ever seen as a creator on the internet. And decided that he was a malicious dickhead, and then deleted his response after this guy reached out to him. Like, that makes no sense. Like, I think Pirate knew what he... Jesus Christ. I think Pirate Software knew what he was doing. I'm not calling him Thor, because I think he named that himself Thor because he wants to, like, roleplay as somebody that doesn't jack off to fucking ferret furry porn. So it just seems like he's just insistent to be against this movement for whatever reason, and I could see the interest. Oh, look, a fucking thick bitch, dude. Hell yeah. Anyway, I could see his like potential interest in running disinformation for this policy because he wants to be a game developer that never releases a game. Apparently, I still don't know what game he's trying to release.
Okay, he hates this.
Maybe it's a game about ferrets releasing gas.
It was thrust upon him by his viewers. I'll just leave him be. Well, that was a mistake on my part, because then he went on to make more videos about me and the movement, now reaching over 1 million views, still broadcasting the wrong information on us. I guess I'm being petty here, but this is alien thinking to me. Why would you call someone out, then run away from a conversation with them when they say there's a misunderstanding, but then go on to make more videos calling them out?
Specifically a genuine person, because there are people out there that like you might call out and they're disingenuous and you can't have a conversation with them. This guy's 1,000% capable of having a meaningful, positive conversation. He's not like a disingenuous actor. So,
sir, that is not gentlemanly behavior.
It's called Heartbound. It was released in 2018. It still isn't finished. What the fuck? Why?
All right, I know this is going on too long, so I'll get to the final point. Thor misunderstood the initiative, misunderstood our intentions, and misinformed a lot of people about both. But the irony is, I think he would have hated it even more if he did understand it. Because first, he doesn't see any of this as a problem.
Gaming isn't in need of saving. No, it's not a form of planned obsolescence. It's called the game no longer being profitable and we turned it off. No games are being destroyed here. These are live service games.
Yeah, you heard him. No games are being destroyed. Does he just say anything? Is that
I mean, even if it's not happening yet, this is something that can happen. So
that why he's popular? More to the point, and what I wish he included in his...
Wait a minute. Is this part of his game? Oh my god. Pirate, is this part of your game? What are you doing with the wand, Pirate? What are you doing with the wand, Pirate? What are you doing? What is this? What spell are you placing on this dog? Are you placing a spell of consent onto the dog? Are you gonna sext with the dog? But 7 is actually 49 in dog years. What?
He's actually older than me. It's 7. The dog is 7 years old. That's basically 49 years old in human dog years. All right, so actually, it's not. It works out. Guys, do you think that we could train dogs to...
I gotta stop with this fucking meme. It's fucking going too far. Sorry, I gotta stop. Sorry.
Supports games being destroyed.
A very strange demand from people in the gaming industry where live service games should live forever, whether in the hands of the developer or otherwise. And I can't get behind that shit. I think live service games getting sunsetted is fine. I've always thought that. And that's...
Whoa, that's crazy.
Okay. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, but this guy, like, I'm pretty sure, like, this guy, one of this guy's advocations is like, hey, that's fine to happen as long as they tell you when it's going to happen so that you're making an informed decision on the concept.
There's nothing wrong with that at all. I have no problems with the end.
I have no problems with putting peanut butter where the sun don't set and then letting my dog go to town. My ferret, sorry.
End of a video game.
See, I wish he started his big YouTube video with that message instead of deleting it. Instead, he presented himself as pro-preservation and not wanting the medium to die out.
It's incredibly important to me that we keep making games and that the next generation has the tools to do so that our medium doesn't die out.
I think did he start transitioning?
And it never will. And that's the whole intention of all of it.
Or maybe it's just like a weird baby face. This guy go through puberty yet?
This.
So he doesn't want games to die out, except he's fine with that. I think there's some cognitive dissonance going on there.
Got him!
He's against killing single-player games that only have a DRM check, okay? But then says people who buy single-player games with more than a DRM check are stupid, and he doesn't play those.
I don't buy games that are always online single-player games. I refuse to play those because it's stupid.
What?
More than a DRM check are stupid, and he doesn't play those.
I don't buy games that are always online single-player games.
Why?
I refuse to play those because it's stupid.
Well,
I mean, it is stupid that they would do single player games that you have to be online for. I can generally agree with that, but like, what does he think the people are stupid for buying them?
Tough talk coming from a fan of Diablo 4.
It's actually really freaking good, dude. The game's fantastic.
Well, he would just say it's not technically a single player game.
Itemization is great. Systems design.
This is actually a good point, though.
Is great. Storyline has been fantastic. The characters are good.
This game doesn't need to be multiplayer. So.
Voice acting is great.
So is he saying he wouldn't have played Diablo 4's single-player campaign if it didn't have forced multiplayer also, even though he's praising it and appears to be playing solo? Or is he saying that people that just wanted to play Diablo 4 single-player are stupid? I admit I got lost on his stance there, but it's more clear to me.
I think that Thor just operates based on what feels nice to him. And so it's like, hey, I want to be a game developer, and so I don't think that I should, I think I should be able to kill a game whenever I want, even if I, get paid for it, and I shouldn't be allowed to provide, single player access to it, or just access to it fundamentally, or give people informed consent. Or when they're buying the product, to be like, hey, this will be terminated in 10 years or something along the lines of that. I think he operates based on what feels good to him. So ferrets, and we're not even going to elaborate.
We're not on the same side. Here's a list of some popular games that are all at risk of being destroyed at some time in the future. Here's a list of.
Let's see. I don't know what the crew is, but Path of Exile is pretty interesting.
Some popular games that are all at risk of being destroyed at some time in the future.
Destiny 2,
the Stop Killing Games
Diablo,
movement sees any of these being destroyed as a problem. And they're exactly
Diablo
the kinds
4,
of games that would start
Fallout
being
76,
protected if the initiative passed.
Warframe.
Now, a lot of these do have single-player campaigns.
Overwatch 2.
But I believe they all require more than a simple DRM check.
Division.
He says over and over that his problem with the initiative is the wording, and it's vague. But there is no wording he would like that also saves games like these. Because he's on the opposite side of this.
Dude, Lost Ark. It's been such a long time. That was an interesting MMO.
If he's totally fine with games like these being disabled forever, well, guess what? That's the position of the industry causing this entire problem in the first place.
Yeah, I think that you should just be able to play these games after they go offline in some capacity. Let people server side or client side host Sea of Thieves. Who gives a fuck? That's actually a very good argument that he has to take because his dad's job, but he also thinks that this will future-proof him, so publishers will work with him in the future. That makes sense. They want somebody that won't rock the boat, so he's willing to destroy his public credibility on his successful stream so that he can publish a game. Okay.
And that's the final point. Thor says he disagrees with how we're going about trying to end game destruction, but he also disagrees with the goal itself. No, wait, I want to be fair. He's only against 99% of it minus that tiny provision he made up. So once you understand that, then of course it makes sense that he's against the Stop Killing Games movement. Because we're trying to stop killing games. Now, if you're in Thor's camp...
Well, if you can kill all these successful games that are really interesting to people, that means that future publishers can release shittier games that are similar to those games, and it makes you buy them. So I think that that's the goal here. I think that the goal for people like Thor is to allow games that are popular to die so you have no access to them, so that you have to buy the same version of the game in some capacity, whether it's a remake or a spiritual remake or a shittier version of the game, so that instead of innovating and trying to create better video games and better content, you kill competition so you can create shit. And since Thor is somebody who loves ferret shit, Thor is somebody who wants to be a game developer and probably wants to work with other developers and publishers, he's willing to sit here and take it down his fucking throat, furry dog cock down his throat, so that he can try to get an in, rather than being like, hey, let me try to rise above the challenge and create an even better, more innovative game, instead of just allowing the same recycled slop to go over and over again. That's really low effort because it's already been done before and the risk isn't there anymore.
And think killing all these games is fine and are as things should be, okay. Then it's just a values clash. And yeah.
And you want to know what? If he just had that take, if he would just be honest about that take, then who fuck it? I wouldn't give a fuck. I would just be honest. Be like, oh yeah, no, I don't want to implement these because I want some games to go out of circulation because I think that they create a competition that I find unreasonable. Blah, blah. I don't even know what the fuck argument you would make, but at least you'd be honest.
Yeah, you'll hate the initiative too. I'm not trying to tell you otherwise. But if you think you might have been misled about what the initiative is, hey, maybe look at it again. Tell others about it. Help undo some of the damage. There is still time. It closes July 31st.
A lot of fucking things here.
Thor lying about what the campaign is about, remember, second definition, has caused more damage to it than anything else I'm aware of. Now, I've heard some people say, no.
I mean, if you're somebody from like Europe or whatever the fuck, wherever you can sign this petition, I would encourage you to go to his video and sign it.
It caused a Streisand effect and led to more coverage. Well, if you look at the signature rate, it suggests the opposite. I've also been told a big streamer, like in that group I mentioned earlier, you know, the kind that are so big they could end this, avoided talking about Stop Killing Games because of Thor's take on it. Remember, at the time he did this, Pirate Software was a well-respected developer looked up to by the internet community for having good takes on gaming.
Ah, yeah, so he was using his credibility at the time, and he was leveraging that against this guy, so people just took his word for it. But now that he's been in constant controversy, people are just like casting doubt, and now this is the time to really talk about this from this guy's perspective.
And I was, and still am, the weirdo with no credentials other than not wanting games destroyed. So with Thor being...
Hey, my dad works for Blizzard, okay?
...being seen as the smartest guy in the room...
He coined the name the Cosby... I gotta stop recycling jokes.
...and firmly against the initiative, I think...
I gotta come up with new jokes, guys. Okay? We gotta come up with new jokes. We have to be innovative, okay? We can't just kill the old jokes and make it over and over again. And say, hey guys, this is the best you're gonna get. It's terrible jokes.
...led some internet figures to not want to touch this, lest they be seen like a fool in the eyes of Thor. Now, as I understand it, that risk may have lowered since then, but it doesn't really matter.
Do I think that Charlie, like Moist Critical, saw the furry messages? I think he jacked off to them, honestly. I think he was fucking pumping his dick off. If you look, I don't know if you guys, because I was hanging out with Charlie the other day. If you look, his left arm is actually sizably bigger than his right arm. Which is weird because he's right-handed, right? And most people are going to have like a problem where like their dominant hand is bigger. And so I was talking about it, and I was just like, dude, what the fuck's going on with that? And he's like, oh, I really like, and he said it in like a nice way. He's like, I'm a connoisseur. He used the word connoisseur. It was very interesting. I think he just watched that show, the movie The Menu, which is great. But like he had that in his mind, so that was like his vocabulary. He's like, I'm a connoisseur of ferret furry porn. But he didn't say ferret furry porn. He said ferret depictions, or depictions of anthropomorphic ferrets. Tasteful depictions. That was the way that he presented himself. It was very interesting. And so, you know, but I watch it, and I only use my computer. Or excuse me, I only use my phone. Because that makes sense to me. Like, yo, you're going to lay in a bed, or you want to sit in a computer chair. It's uncomfortable. You know, because I remember when I was young, I sat in a computer chair, and there's one of those pull-out... things. The keyboard pulled out, and I accidentally tapped my dick against it, and I have a permanent, you know, brown scar there. And so I personally prefer to lay down and use my phone. He said, but I hold it in my right hand, in my dominant hand, and I use my left hand. And so that's why I do it a lot. I'm constantly, violently jacking off. And so I use my left hand. That's why it's like my arm's so much bigger, my forearm specifically. So isn't that so interesting?
If nobody else talks about it, because he was there to kill the momentum when we needed it the most, and we never got it back. Okay, that's
okay.
Shit on him. I did not enjoy having to do that segment, but I've had to do a lot of things on this campaign I don't like. Believe it or not, my goal was not to tarnish Thor's reputation.
Yeah.
That's incidental. I don't care. He can be hailed as a national hero.
Damn.
Whatever. The goal was to expose the damage done to the campaign to try and fix it. I do think he's someone who would have defended the divine right of kings hundreds of years ago. But I don't wish him ill will. On the contrary.
That was the most insulting thing this guy came up with, because he's such a genuine guy. He seems like the kind of guy who would support kings. It's like, damn. You know? That's just he's such a wholesome guy.
I hope he finds some peace of mind. Now you might be thinking, is this
Have I tried Venezuelan food? No, I've had diarrhea before.
Really so fragile?
I'm just kidding. I don't know. It might taste good. I don't think I have.
Fragile that one big streamer can sink it just by misrepresenting it? Oh, yeah, it totally is. It's been an uphill battle almost every step of the way. It sinks or swims to the whims of what big streamers do.
Damn, true.
It kind of reminds me of the Greek gods. That part about easy wins, that's for the politics.
He's not going to elaborate on that. But I think he's referring to Greek gods who are like genuinely flawed but have like a tremendous amount of power. I think that's why he said it.
Politicians, not us. Ours are hard as nails. There are reasons that's what I was saying when I was 9 years before I was ever able to actually do anything on this. It's a miracle it's gotten as far as it has. Now, I've seen people ask if the initiative...
Dude, I was like locked into some fucking idiot bullshit there. What the hell was that?
...fails, then what's next? I've tried to explain this before. There is no next. What's next was a year and a half ago with all those other things we've tried. We're at the final phase now. The European Citizens Initiative is our last possible chance to change anything. See, there are things governments and consumer groups are doing, and then there are things that us, the general public, are doing. After July, I see nothing left for us.
Guy? Here he is.
So does that mean Stop Killing Games has failed? Well, no, nobody knows yet. We won't know the answer to that for a long time, maybe years. Government moves slowly. The initiative will be what's failed.
It's because everybody in government's like fucking 60,000 years old for whatever reason. So
not everything else.
Hey, let's elect this 97-year-old with Alzheimer's. Oh, perfect. Perfect.
With the initiative, we still have about 5 other chances for this to work. We have the consumer agencies in France, Germany, and Australia, and possibly help from the BEUC and the UFC Cush Wazir.
Whoa! You can't say Cush.
Sorry. UC and the UFC.
That is true. The Greek gods, Zeus was the degenerate. Yep, he used to turn himself into animals and fuck people. This is actually real. And maybe Thor should have named himself Zeus. I don't know.
UFC Cush Wazir. Though those are iffier. But all their work is underway. It's out of our hands now. Now, I've heard some say, what if we launch the initiative again? Well, someone else can try that, not me. I tried my absolute damnedest writing off the publicity of the cruise shutdown and barely got halfway. It took a chunk out of my life with almost nothing to show for it. No way am I going to spearhead something like this again. I saw this as my only shot. I took it to the best of my ability. That wasn't good enough. I have no reason to think that doing it again will be successful.
Sorry, I was scratching my balls. I think that he could... This is a continuation of the push, just this video alone.
On the contrary, I think it would do far worse. Now, that doesn't mean I'm being defeatist. I will continue saying yes to almost any opportunity that emerges until July 31st. I have some skepticism, but I am still available for Stop Killing Games until then. Though remember, you don't have to go through me at all. You just have to send people to the initiative. After that, no, I'm done. In fact, I think
Damn, I think that's a mistake. I think he should continue to advocate for this in some capacity. I think he should really try to make like an online career out of this, you know?
People might be surprised just how done I am after July. It's not that I will have changed my mind on game destruction, it's just that there's nothing left after that. So I don't want to waste even more of my life on this. I've paid my dues. My income's dropped significantly since I started this because I haven't had time to make more fun videos which people would rather watch. And I don't blame them one bit. So besides being sick of running this thing, I have to make up for lost time so I can pay rent. Plus, believe it or not, I want time to actually play games and not just fight to keep them all the time. I'll still do the bare minimum if it helps. For example, Germany's consumer aid...
I like how honest this guy is. He's like, I thought this is too much work and I'm losing money. True. I think he can make I think he could like just fucking stream and chill and then release his occasional like fun video if you feel like doing it.
Agency contacted me at one point because they wanted more information on the crew's EULA for their investigation. So I assisted with that. That was surprising because I have no authority on that at all, and I would have thought they would have had better sources than me, but yeah, I can do pilot light activity like that if it really helps, just no more campaigning. And don't get me wrong, I'm not against people doing more after July, I just think your odds will be horrendous, and I don't want to dump my time into doomed causes. If the law on game destruction in the EU and Australia was as locked down as it is in the United States, I never would have even started this campaign. Now, I've said this in...
Is it locked down in the United States? Really? I thought that they were still doing the same shit in the United States.
Initiative resulted in almost nothing. Well, we did get a little bit. For me personally, I got the feeling of knowing I did everything I could, so I won't have any more nagging doubts like, oh, if only I had tried harder, I could have saved video games. No, I can close the book on that. So I'll be able to look at myself in the mirror after this. That's a plus for me and anyone else who tried their best. But the only other thing I think the initiative accomplished was we inadvertently saved 2 games. This is hearsay again, but according to an insider at the company, Ubisoft announced offline modes for The Crew 2 and Motorfest because they were afraid the European Citizens Initiative would pass. And
interesting. Wait, that's like really good advocation. What the fuck? He kind of did it then, no? That's great. So just the fear of it passing made them go into like emergency mode and go like, okay, we have to offer a single player mode. What the fuck? It's already working.
Thought this might kill some of the momentum. Ironically, I don't think they needed to have bothered. We were already losing momentum when they announced that because, well, you know why. But not killing games is the whole point of this, and I guarantee you Ubisoft had no end-of-life plans for those games prior to this.
Copyright is dead in the United States. Well, is it? Is that true? I don't really understand. What's that? Like, what's the argument? That, like, you can basically just, like, host it or something? I don't really understand how, like, what is that?
Movement. They were absolutely slated to die. Now,
it's crazy that this guy's, like, actually, his movement actually had, like, a massive impact, where despite the fact that he couldn't get it passed, just the fear of it getting passed had made some game companies decide that they had to create offline modes.
If I could have picked any 2 online games to save, I can't say those would have been my choices, but that is something tangible that the initiative changed.
True.
Assuming Ubisoft isn't lying. At the time of this video, they still haven't delivered on it yet. So is that it? Is that all the...
Oh, maybe they won't. They created it, but they never implemented it. That makes sense that they would... That makes sense that they didn't implement it, because they're a selfish gaming company.
Initiative accomplished? Well, without the signatures, sadly, yes, I think so. Now, some people might say, no, we did more than that. We shifted the narrative. So what? My only goal with this was to stop games from being destroyed. All the talk in the world won't fix that without action. Without the initiative, any victory we get is going to come from one of these 5 paths we opened up. Speaking of which, what should we expect from that? I honestly don't know. I give all of these coin toss odds. I do think it is highly, highly likely Ubisoft is going to get fined for something by more than one agency. Don't take my word for it. German channel WBS Legal thinks the same. The problem in their eyes is that Ubisoft shut down the crew with only 3 months.
No, dead set. Like, it's not really capable of being changed in the US as compared to the EU. Are you saying that, like, we couldn't push this narrative or this initiative in the United States because copyright law is so strong? Is that what you're saying?
Notice, and they should have provided more like 2 years. Yeah, hear me now, quote me later. If all that comes from Stop Killing Games is companies in the EU need to give 2 years notice before they shut down a game, then I will consider it an abject failure. It won't save games. That wasn't our goal.
I frankly think that should be taken a step further, and they should provide some kind of an offline, not like an offline mode, but the ability for it to be supported by like another individual if they decide to kill the game.
Piss off companies, everybody loses. But that's the risk of making this work under existing law rather than proposing sensible law under the initiative.
Even if they like do something where they allow it to happen in some kind of client-side capacity, but they still profit off of it, like, you know, they could figure something out like that.
Fingers crossed the agencies make a better decision than that. Now, since this is a wrap-up video and I don't know what the outcome will be, I might as well present both scenarios. First, if we win and have a clear victory through one of these avenues, oh boy. If I think I have threats and hate mail now, I bet I haven't seen anything yet. I'd like to say whatever happens because of these
well, at least you didn't have to watch Pirate Software jacking off. I mean, doing some weird fucking furry sex thing. I didn't watch him jack off, but I saw the
avenues. We didn't write them and never had any authority here. All we could do was report the problem. The European Citizens Initiative is what was written by the movement, and that's what's failing. Now, for people who want my head over this, I doubt they'll care, but I wanted to point that out. I'll say right now, the transition could be bumpy. It all depends on how hard the industry fights it. And yes, it's possible it could end some games on death row prematurely. So games that were designed to die could still die, but after that, almost all games would start being protected. Because I know there's some clown that's going to find one example of a game shutting down early and then use that as proof that enforcing the law is bad, even though the industry was going to kill it anyway. That's the logic I'm expecting. So there could be bumps, but give it 3 to 5 years and it will smooth out, become an industry standard, and then you'll have people who were against it claiming they were for it all along. Hey, remember how there were people speaking out against letting customers refund games before 2014, and they're kind of quiet now? I do. I think it'll be a lot like that.
What, was there like a big initiative to allow customers to do that? Doesn't Steam allow the customers to refund games as long as it's within either 2 days or 2 hours of gameplay or something, which I think is a reasonable policy.
So that's if we win. If we lose, in other words, all 5 of these avenues get shot down, well, then things are going to be almost exactly like they are right now. Except then there will be no pretending we have consumer rights. If you're a gamer, it will be codified into law that you're a consumer chattel who doesn't deserve to keep what you buy. Or if you're renting, informed of how long you get to rent. So, cool. The games industry brought back one of feudalism's greatest hits. Now even
Blockbuster.
that reality I consider preferable to what's going on now, because then we at least know we're legally screwed. Besides the obvious, what drove me crazy about this issue and the reason I started this campaign was because in many countries, no laws were ever passed on this. Nobody voted on this. Companies just started taking away your purchases. Nobody stopped them, and it slowly got normalized.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, people seem to be pretty lazy about it. I think up until this video, I never really cared either. I'm like, yeah, it's just the way things are going. It's not a big deal. But then, like, this video kind of got me thinking, like, oh, you know what? Why not protect that? Why not protect it? Well, why not? Like, if I'm buying the game, I should be buying something to some level of permanence. Like, if I want to go and load up, like, my fucking N64 and play GoldenEye right now, I can do that. So I should be able to have access to doing that, even with, like, you know, more modern games. Even if it would be more difficult, I should still have access to be able to do that.
It's felt like a coup. So the idea that hundreds of games were being destroyed just because we're letting it happen drove me up the wall. If we're screwed, let's be told that to our faces and not have contradicting laws pretending we have rights. Yeah, that's the one thing I can promise this campaign will deliver, which is answers. There will be no more frog boiling after this. Either the frog hops out of the pot or it's dead. Now, even if we lose...
Well, I mean, if it gets boiled, it'll be dead, but I get what he's saying.
100%. It's not like I'll change my mind on thinking destroying creative works when people want to save them is wrong. I'll probably drift even farther towards trying to save game worlds, at least. I made a video about this sort of thing. I'm optimistic about technology assisting with being able to extract environments from games and port them in the future.
Interesting. The AI workaround, just basically recreate the game in some capacity for people to play online. Hey, fuck it. You know, I feel like this is something that could be sold to gaming developers to, like, try to profit off of old video games somehow, you know?
So hopefully we can salvage more from the ashes that are getting burned down in games. So that's Stop Killing Games. If you're depending on me to save the initiative, then I think it's going to fail. Skill issue, as they say. My only closing thoughts on this is that this is all just so stupid. It's stupid that we didn't have clear laws on this to begin with, that this practice continued for decades without clear laws on it, that it was going to continue without our intervention, that it takes so much work and so many people to even report a violation, that me, a chump YouTuber, was the one spearheading this, that it was easily derailed by a bigger YouTuber, convincing gamers that having their games destroyed is a good thing. It's all so stupid. I've heard some people say before that we're on the worst timeline. No, things could be so much worse. I think some people have no idea. But if you were to say we're on the dumbest timeline, I don't know if I could argue against that.
I don't know. I think it can get dumber.
See ya.
All right. I thought it was a great video. I like how he displayed the information. And it's clear to me that Power Software is a penis head. So, beautiful stuff. I forgot I wanted to read his response. Been reading through all the posts against me over my stance on the Stop Killing Games initiative. Tons of people calling me a liar or that I misrepresented the initiative. Also, lots of content creators dogpiling on this to get their pound of flesh. Doesn't this guy always do this? Every time he gets criticism, he just says everybody's dogpiling him. The initiative calls to require publishers to sell or license video games to consumers in the UU or related features and assets sold for video games they operate to leave said video game in a functional, playable state. Specifically, this initiative seeks to prevent the remote disabling of video games by publishers before providing reasonable means to continue functioning of said video games without the involvement from the other side of the publisher. The initiative does not seek to acquire ownership of said video game associated intellectual rights monetization. What? What he highlights here is debunked by the next. He's trying to say that the first thing highlights that they have to leave it in a playable state, and it says functional playable state. But then later it specifies it literally in the next line: continue functioning of said video games without the involvement. Okay, prevent the remote disabling of video game before providing reasonable means to continue functioning. Right, so that reasonable aspect is there. So he's wrong about that. The video clarifies that, so he could have literally just fucking read through that. Let's dig into what I actually did instead. I put out 2 videos on August 6th and August 24th and August 7th. Okay, these videos are linked at the bottom of the post. Many people have not watched them at all, or just calling me a liar or attacking my character. Give the videos a watch, read the initiative itself, make a conclusion that you aren't copy pasting from social media. Monetization on videos, these videos is disabled, so no, it's not some kind of ploy to increase revenue. Oh, I hate the fucking virtue signal of turning off monetization. I just care about the subject and have rightful concerns as a person working in the space. The problem is that like he would have said like, hey, I think that some of these things are misguided, but here's a better. He would give advice. He didn't. He just says he hates the initiative because he doesn't give a fuck about giving it reasonable criticism or the fundamentals of it, of allowing games to still exist, you know, after they decide not to support them anymore, even though you paid a tremendous amount of money for them. So that is your problem. In the first video, I go through what the initiative is, how it's not law, and how it's starting point for the entire process. This helps people understand that this is the start of the conversation for change and can adapt later. I then go through the initiative and some of its goals from the official page for it. I then talk about the repercussions of them should they be implemented. As written, all games need to be left in a functional, playable state. Right. It's just again, this clarified that it's like from a reasonable perspective. Next, I bring up the crew and I walk through the business around it, the sequels and the size of the player base as the time of the sunset. I did this because it was called out by this initiative as an example of publishers destroying a game. I also harshly critique Ross Scott's wording in his videos because they disparage the lawmaking process and lawmakers, which doesn't benefit players. What? In this movement in any way? Is he talking about the little joking slide at the end? This is being stupid. In the second, it's like he's such pedantic criticisms. In the second video, I talk about the potential scenarios where a studio could be abused if the initiative was implemented and written. As written. Well, it's a good thing that they have lobbyists on the other side to advocate for it to be changed in some way, that to try to meet in the middle. It adds new paths for abuse, and this needs to be discussed to help hone the initiative into something that would be do good without doing harm. Again, if that was the point, he wouldn't have refused a conversation with the guy, and he would have given reasonable criticism. This is all just like fluff. I then explained that very few people in the game development space can actually discuss this from the other side due to fear of losing their jobs. A studio is much safer in a silent dissent and they are discussing the drawbacks of your ideas. Why would they have to unless it went to law or potentially went to get put into law? Then the lobbyists that they have that they pay millions of dollars for would have conversations about this, and they would figure out a common ground in the middle. The recent attacks in our game on our games is obvious evidence of this. What? To recap, my main issue with the initiative is that it is broad in its approach to change the industry and exact language of the initiative, not the FAQ request that all games say is functional, playable state. Again, he doesn't have this problem. He doesn't get he's not giving any meaningful advice back. This is now he's just giving you something that looks reasonable now, but he wasn't being reasonable in the first place. This is not feasible for all games at a technical level and can potentially restrict developers from making online-only games like MMOs, MOBAs, and user-generated content games in the future. Again, I'm pretty sure one of the things is that it has to have an expected lifespan, or that just needs to be upfront. Maybe I'm misinterpreting that. The list is not that list is not exhaustive and does not matter if you do or don't like those kinds of games. Effectively, this has the potential to restrict future developers from making kick-ass experiences because it locks a weight on their decisions. Okay, so then you could just exempt MOBAs from this when you get to the point of the conversation, if you feel like that would be what would have to happen. Effectively, this has the potential to restrict future development from making kick-ass experiences because it locks a weight on their design. So far, he hasn't talked a single bit about how there are some games that unnecessarily lock you onto the internet and how those will be destroyed. But hey, you know what? This is about shitting on the piece of this piece of media, or this advocation. It's not about actually supporting it and just redirecting it in a more positive capacity. Even though this is an issue that can change in the future, this goal is core to the mission, deeply disruptive, to be called out to clear up some disinformation about my character. I left the AAA in 2016. Fucking hate how the industry is now and prefer indie entirely. I don't like Blizzard, or I would have stayed working there. That's why I quit. That's the entire point. Fuck AAA and what many studios have turned games into. Outside of that, I know I am not financially supported by live service games. I make a single-player RPG and I'm a director of a strategy for off-brand games. In the position I am paid minimum wage by my own decision because I care about games succeeding, not about profiting off of them. He pays minimum wage. First of all, he hasn't even meaningfully released his game, from my understanding. Second of all, he's rich. He doesn't need to produce an income. So he doesn't care about money the way that the rest of you do. He cares about his image, right? And everybody liking him. That's literally when you have so much money, you don't care about it anymore. You start to care about other things, like accolades. That's why Donald Trump got elected and he didn't really care about his how much money he had, because it became a bucket list. He had enough money already. To further this game's the game we're publishing are all playable offline anyway, because their gameplay loops are not only based on their interplayer interaction. Not all games are like this, and not all games can be like this. No, I have not been running away from the discussion on this. I talked about it for around 8 hours on stream yesterday. Well, you could have talked to the guy. You talked about it on 8 hours on stream yesterday because you felt locked into having to talk about it because you wouldn't talk to the person. I never took my video down, and I have not discussed the initiative in 10 months. It's been since I released those videos. My internet also died mid-broadcast, so I had to go live again 30 minutes later. Thanks, ISP. For those who will scream, he's doubling down. Yes, I am. I damn well am. I give a shit about this initiative and what it means for games developers and players in the future. To finish out, just because I don't support this doesn't mean you should blindly follow me in that just because I said pretty words on the internet. Pretty words. Okay, really jerking himself off in front of us again, huh? You also shouldn't blindly bash me because some other creator said to. Watch the videos I put out, read the initiative, decide for yourself, apply critical thinking, and don't outsource it to others. Always stay frosty. Wow, what a fucking loser. Okay, cool stuff.